Hello.
Hey, I'm just getting set up. New room. I have a whole bunch of
Oh,
stuff, and I don't know where my microphone went, and this is very bad. But what do you want to go over while I look for it? Because I know it's in this room somewhere.
what's that?
What did you want to go over before the episode?
I just want to talk about the next step, the Doctor Who one.
Oh yeah, what's up?
I just because I couldn't see it on the schedule, so when he said well we're going to do a Doctor Who episode, I was like, what's going on?
Oh, there's 2 pages on the schedule now.
Oh right, okay.
There's a 2017, and then there's 2018.
Well, that's why I didn't see it then. Okay.
I swear I've seen it. I know it's in this house. So yeah, it's you and Rob.
Yeah, Rob Wallace. Yeah, so cool. Right, so he said the 29th for the 30th. I think I'll probably go for the 30th. That should probably be all right for me.
Cool. You can see I'm in a brand new room.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, very nice.
Look at the mic. This is what happens when you move house.
Yeah.
I swear I had it, and I was like, I knew where it was, and then something got moved.
I'm looking around to see if I can see it, but obviously I can't.
No.
I can't help you. Is it in another room, perhaps, or?
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Okay, no worries.
Hey. Shit. It's one of those things where it's like, I put it somewhere specific, and then I forgot where I put it.
Did you put it under the desk or anything, or?
Yeah, that's where I'm looking. 'Cause I thought I would have put it in like one of these drawers, maybe. It's too big because I keep it in the box that it came in. So. I'm just like making sure I'm not like looking right at it. We're still waiting on Fred anyway, though, right?
Oh yeah. I just wanted to go with stuff. Also, I thought about maybe doing like a brief thing scheduled for Christmas, because I know this is going to come after Christmas. There's this thing on Reddit called "'Twas the Dark Night Before Christmas." It's like "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," but it's Batman, and he's doing a lot of stuff with that. So I thought maybe I just like read that out aloud.
Okay, you don't want to rewrite it for like "'Twas the Cape Night Before Christmas" and do it like a.
I can't rewrite the whole poem. I don't. I mean, this literally just came to me like yesterday. If I had time before then, I might have been able to. But it's a long poem.
Yeah, you're right. Do that, and then next year we'll do it the other way.
Yeah.
Shit. 'Cause I keep it in the box that it came in. So. 'Cause I thought I would have put it in like one of these drawers, maybe. It's too big because I keep it in the box that it came in. So. 'Cause I thought I would have put it in like one of these drawers, maybe. 'Cause I keep it in the box that it came in. So.
Yeah.
I got this, just in case.
Okay.
Let me just text my wife and see if she's seen it. So I'm pretty sure I took it over. I'm talking this through so that I'm trying to remind myself. I'm pretty sure I took it over with a whole bunch of stuff. Like I packed it myself so it wouldn't get lost for this specific reason.
Oh.
And then of course, it does. Some of this feels like archaeology because we had hackers do the packing for us.
All right.
So it's like, you know, if you find stuff from the relevant room, you know you're close. It's been the game we've been playing for like the last couple weeks.
Okay.
Aha!
Oh!
Found it.
Hooray!
Okay. Now I have to clear up this whole desk. Fred's still not on, is he?
No, I haven't called Fred or anything. We're only just coming up at 11 now. Good job we did this now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll let you get set up.
For the Doctor Who one, does that make sense to go over Doctor Who in general? Because, you know...
Yeah, just talk about our personal experience with Doctor Who, what we think about it going up to this point, what we like going forward, and talking about the Christmas special in particular. Makes sense. Fred is online.
I could better myself, actually.
Oh...
That's exactly what I was thinking.
How do we add? I don't know how to add him.
I think I have to do it because I started the call.
Okay.
People to this call. It's at the bottom, you know, next to the video, the mic, the hang up. There's a plus.
Yeah, I see, yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it anyway. Hey, bud.
Oop.
Oh, my internet is much better here, by the way.
Hello? I'm not getting Fred. I'm not getting Fred.
He's not connected yet. I still need to go get some water in a minute.
Okay, yeah. I got water.
Yeah, are you wearing gloves? You're in a new place.
Oh yeah, I am in my parents' shed.
Why are you in the shed?
Because they are going to have people over very soon, and don't want to disturb them, don't want them to disturb me, and I get Wi-Fi out here, and it's relatively quiet. I doubt we'll hear the bird song anytime soon. So, yeah.
Enough.
That's my dad's tools behind me, and a pile of wood. Oh, here he comes.
Hello?
Hello!
Hello? I just heard pile of wood there.
Yes, that's because I'm in my dad's shed.
This is,
nice.
And you're in a new place.
No, is he? No, he isn't.
What, me?
You're in the same place, aren't you?
Oh, no, you're in the same.
I'm always in the same place. I'm tucked away in my little nerd cave on the farm. The family farm, yeah.
Oh, right. See, I thought so, because we're in both different places, so...
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
cool.
in my new house.
Oh, nice. How's it all going?
Good. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see you.
Bike chain?
Oh.
Oh, you went from it there.
I'm just gonna go make some tea.
Okay.
I shall be but a minute.
No worries.
The fire warm. I'll be back in a bit.
I could use a fire in here. Oh, hello. There we go. Can hear you.
Boo.
There we go.
I'm back.
Ooh.
Bleh.
Oh, let me get the,
Huh.
Right. So I've got a bunch of. So we're going over the year in review, aren't we?
Yeah, pretty much.
Makes sense to me. I've got a bunch of stuff that happened this year in well, at least things that aired or premiered this year that we could talk about. I'm sure you guys have got stuff as well.
Let me just plug you in.
Oh yeah. All good?
Yeah, I believe so.
Cool.
Is Mark joining us at all?
I don't think he is he?
Okay.
David? Sorry. He's fiddling. Wait, no, he's not. He's not fiddling. He is sorting stuff out. Oh, good.
I'm just debating if I need earphones or not. Don't think I do.
You sound good. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I've not needed them before. Just you guys all had your headphones on. I thought, oh, do I need them? Nah. The viewers won't notice.
We can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Hang on, I just need to adjust my... Scott, just say something?
Hello, 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 hello.
Gotcha. Okay. And you can hear me, I'm not popping.
Say something again.
I'm not popping.
You sound a bit crackly, but that might just be your voice.
Yeah, a little bit coming in and out.
Okay, how do I sound now?
You sound fine. Just a bit.
That sounded better.
Yeah? No, I was just going really close to the mic, that's why.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah, when I know that should be a bit about here for the mic.
Cool.
Sound normal and everything, just because I'm making sure, because the last couple of days I've been Skyping with people and using just the internal mic instead.
No, you sound fine now. So I just want to double check that I'm actually recording this. Hold on, can't find it.
Everything says I'm using the right mic. As long as I sound fine, I don't really care.
Yeah, you're coming in through clear.
Well, Scott does that. Fred, I spoke. Did you get my Slack messages from the last couple of days?
Not yet. I've not checked them yet. No.
No, I haven't checked mine either.
Yeah. So Scott, this isn't really going to affect you very much.
Okay.
So Fred, I spoke to the guy from Sarah Lawrence that I mentioned to you, I think.
From who, sorry?
Did I mention any of this? Okay, hang on. So Sarah Lawrence is a liberal arts college in New York.
Okay.
It's near my old school. It's hang on, I'm just trying to turn my notifications off so I'm not getting annoyed. Hang on. So here we go. Sorry, just want to do this before I forget. Okay, so I posted a job for more writers on my my alma mater's job board.
Mm-hmm.
So they use now this new system where you can post on Vassar, which is my school, but then you can also post on a whole bunch of other schools just with a click of a button, even if you didn't go there.
Very nice. Cool.
So I did that. So I posted on like 4 or 5 schools now.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And I'll post it again, I think, in the new year. But basically, one of the schools got back to me, and the careers counselor was like, we should start a relationship because I already know 2 students who've talked to me today about comics who would love to work for your site.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So he's going to start like recommending writers and recommending people to us. So we had this whole quick chat about that.
Very nice.
So I think we need to start shouting a bit more about how we want to bring in writers who are looking for experience doing new things, like grads and students and stuff. And Scott, that might come up in the podcast. We won't bring it up today, but like, for the future, it might be something that we...
New writers, something to talk about, bring them on.
Yeah, but I think it reflects really well on us, like that we are looking specifically for people with no experience so that we can give them experience.
Yeah.
So the other thing that, so the next Skype conversation I had, which was yesterday, I spoke to Jonathan Hazen about becoming the new editor.
Mm-hmm. I got that email, yeah.
Yeah. So he's all good. He's really happy. He's really excited to go. So Scott, just to bring you up to speed, we've basically divided everyone into 3 teams.
Okay.
Nothing, as far as you're concerned, is really going to change.
I like stability.
Basically, so we have Celia and Katie running the TV team.
Mm-hmm.
Fred and now Jonathan will sort of be looking after the rest of the articles, with Jonathan probably being a focus on the comic content and Fred sort of doing the overall stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you and Mark are the PodCapers team.
Cool.
So in effect, nothing really changes. We've just sort of formalized it a bit more.
The structure, I like it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Cool. So
that's it.
That's it. So I literally just thought we'd each mention like a thing that happened this year that we want to talk about, and then we talk about it for however long we want to, and then just move on and just take it in turns. Sound good?
Yeah, so I've got one thing I want to bring up specifically, which is that, I'll save it for the show because it's going to really piss you off.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Me or him, or both?
Scott, I think.
Do you want to mention that first or last, or is there a specific point?
We'll get to there.
Okay. We'll know when you mention it.
We'll get there pretty quick. You'll know exactly what it is when I mention it.
Okay. So I just got TV and stuff, and so we'll just go. We'll do. You mention something, Fred mentioned something, I mentioned something, and then we'll just loop and see how long we can keep it going for.
Do you want to do a brief intro and just mention that we're sort of all in new places and it's Christmas, like...
Oh, yeah. I'll do my usual intro and we'll talk about that sort of stuff. I mean, how do I sound any different? Does it sound weird or echoey in here, or...?
No, you sound great.
Okay, cool.
Do I sound any echoey? I know my room's bigger and it definitely echoes.
No more than usual, no more than the last place.
Okay.
I'm afraid you sound great, so shall we get started? Okay. Welcome to PodCapers, the official podcast of A Place to Hang Your Cape. And this week, we're looking back on the shitstorm that was 2017. Roll in the new year already. Cue the music! Every fucking time!
It's tradition now.
Yeah. Hello there, Capers, and as I said, welcome to PodCapers, the official podcast of A Place to Hang Your Cape. My name is Scott James Merridew, and this is a show where we talk about various geek and nerd-related topics, and are joined each week by a very special different guest. And this week, we're talking with the 2 big head honchos of A Place to Hang Your Cape. Please give it up for the official psychic, Fred McNamara.
Whatto? Hello? How goes it?
It goes very well, Frank. Fred. Ah.
You're not the first person from A Place to Hang Your Cape who mistook me for Frank. You're not the first one, and I'm thinking you won't be the last.
The reason I'm sorry, the place where I am, it's a bit cold, so my brain might be a bit slow. And so, please, Capers, also give a very warm welcome to our Generalissimo, the man for whom we would all fight on the beaches of Dunkirk for, it's Dan Molofsky. No, wait, no. David Molofsky.
I was like waiting, and I was like, if he says David, I'm just going to be like, it's actually pronounced Divad. You've been mispronouncing it for over a year.
Oh God, he's Welsh! No! I've been working for a Welsh person. Nah, it's words. How are you both doing?
I'm good, thank you. How is everyone?
I'm doing really well. If you hear any difference in the way I sound, I'm actually in a new place. I've just moved house. Very exciting.
Yeah, well, we're very happy for you.
And my ceilings are a lot higher now, and it feels like I'm a bit more echoey. So I hope that this the audio is sounding good. But yeah, and Scott, you're in a new place today too.
Well, I'm down at my parents' house in the tweest village in all of Tweedom, aka Oxfordshire. Except I'm not actually in the house because, you know how I can get a little bit heated and a little bit loud. I basically, Capers, I'm in the garden shed. I'm not kidding. There is a wood pile behind me. There's my dad's tools behind me. I am in a fucking shed. Looking out, I can see my dad's big wood pile. I can see the garden path. I can see the summer house, the greenhouse, the trellising, the woods and the fields beyond, and in the far distance, a steepled church.
And you've got gloves on. I can see you've got gloves on.
It's cold in here, Fred. I'm sorry.
I'm not complaining. I'd rather you stay alive and keep warm.
Well, don't worry. Up here, we have the heating off.
Oh, wow. What hardship you live through. Now, don't worry. The fires within my heart will keep me warm. And the reason why they keep me warm is because a lot's happened in 2017, both in the wider world and also in cinema, in the comics industry, in the television industry, and just in pop culture in general. And I think the biggest milestone, we can all agree, this show's first started. We started PodCapers. Have we talked on this show, David, about the genesis of PodCapers?
Not on this show. I actually think the first time I talked about it was with Imran on a bonus, some bonus Patreon content for Jock and Nerd. But yeah, I think we should finally get that story out there. So do you want to tell the story? My first recollection of the first kernel, the first seed of PodCapers began, I think it was the first Comic-Con that I ever went to. London Film and Comic-Con, was it 2013, 2014? I want to say, no, it was 2015. And you know how I remember? Because we were talking to our friend Ross Sambridge, and I can say this now that Star Wars has come out. So he is a very, very tall person. In fact, he's the president of the Tall Persons Club. Mm-hmm. And he's like he's like 7'1" or something like that. He's really tall, and he is a stand-in, and he has done some roles in both Star Wars films, in the last two Star Wars films. So we were talking in 2015, and he was like, "Well, I was in a film, and it was the seventh in its series," and I was like, must be Fast and Furious."
No, but I remember that as well, and. We were talking, we're bantering, I was being my usual gregarious self.
I think it was the first time I actually met you in person as well.
Yeah, I don't think we'd Skype before, I think we'd corresponded over email, and I think maybe Facebook and stuff like that. He keeps telling me, you got something wrong in the last article, do it right next time!
And I think the point is that was the first time that I heard Scott's dulcet tones.
I have a voice like honey!
And if you've ever seen his face, you'll know that Scott has the face and the voice for radio.
Oh, yes.
So we were sort of just chatting about it, and this was when we had just put out our first calendar. So our first calendar was 2015. And I was still looking ahead, and we were going to do different projects. And I was thinking about doing the podcast, but I wasn't really sure. I'd never been on a podcast at that point. Or maybe I had just been on the Jock and Nerd once or something.
I'm pretty sure this was 2014. I'm fairly certain. Because I joined in 2013, and this was the year after.
No, then maybe it was your second con with us.
Or maybe possibly, because we did go to 2 cons together at least.
Yeah, because I definitely remember in 2015... we talked, you and I sitting in a pub with Ross.
Yeah.
'Cause he's a very memorable man.
Oh, yeah.
And chatting with him. He actually wants to come on the show.
We would be glad to have him
I
on.
couldn't say anything about it until after Star Wars because he's under a very strict NDA. And obviously, for anyone out there, he never told us a thing about anything that he was in.
And you wheedled him. I think we all at one point wheedled him for information. We couldn't get anything.
He was very dead set explaining to us that he was in the Fast and the Furious, and obviously this year the 8th Fast and Furious came out, and he was explaining about how he was in that as well.
Fast and Furious, the last whatever character from Fast. I don't know Fast and Furious. I don't know.
He was a stand-in for The Rock's Shadow, I think.
Probably. Probably.
Shadow.
But anyway, so basically, forgetting about Ross for a minute, we were chatting in the pub, and sort of the idea of doing a podcast was brought up. It was you, me, and Mark at some point chatting about it, and I think you
just said you should do a podcast, and I was like,
yeah.
What, little me? No. Continue with this idea, perhaps. No.
So I think it was around that same time that we started working a bit more closely with Jock and Nerd and the Geek Chorus when they came out. And then a few months later, we started working with the Awesome Comics podcast. And so it sort of felt like we had some podcast content on the site. And I just sort of wanted to see how that did before we committed to doing our own, which I think is fair enough. And then so after we did the second calendar, which we're now in the last month of that calendar, and we're not going to do another one, guys.
How will you all cope? No one in the entire nation will know what date it is.
But the reason why we didn't do another calendar this year is because starting pretty much immediately after we finished most of the work on the calendar last year, about this time last year, actually, I started a Facebook chat, and I was like, Scott, Mark, we're doing it. We're doing a podcast.
I've been on the Jock and Nerd podcast.
Yeah.
You told them that they ought to get me on, and they got me on, and it was a lot of fun. And then it was just like, yeah, we're doing this. And I was like, oh, okay.
So we bought a few mics, and we started getting set up. And my brother, for people who don't know, my brother is actually a podcast producer in New York City. He is produced several #1 podcasts on iTunes, including Missing Richard Simmons, which was a big hit literally during the time that we first launched. So we launched PodCapers in March, and meanwhile my brother has launched iTunes #1 podcast. And I'm like,
we're catching him up!
We're getting there. We're going to be #1 soon. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm not competitive. It's fine.
Well, I mean, how long has he been doing that for? How long has that been going for? We just got started in March.
Oh yeah, he's been producing podcasts for like 5 or 6 years. So
we're 40 odd episodes later, and we're doing all right. You know, we've had some big names on. We've had some small but interesting names on. We've done musical specials. I think we're doing okay.
I couldn't agree more. And so I guess it just sort of spawned out of a bunch of conversations on Facebook Messenger. I just remember like 3 months of you, me, and Mark just sort of bantering across different messages about what the show could be. And there was just originally Mark was going to be the host, but then we sort of decided
we were going to co-host it together, and then he didn't want to do that, but he still wanted to be involved. So
yeah, it was. I
still wanted him to be involved because I've known Mark for years and years and years. We went to undergrad university together. I've known the guy actually coming up on about 7 years now. So
since the place to hang your cape's been around.
About that time, yeah.
Oh yeah.
God. In fact, he knew about Place to Hang Your Cape through me because he found out that I'd been working for you guys and writing articles, and I said, yeah, check him out. And he did, and then, history was made.
Absolutely. And so then, but yeah, I think that actually having the one host has really worked for us because it's allowed us to have more guests and things like that. And I think the dynamic has been a lot of fun.
And that's one of the things I love most about this show. I like a lot of things. First and foremost, the ability for me to spread my rage across the interwebs. But also, I like having lots of different people on, like having people from the side, like people I've never met before, people who work in the industry, people who just have opinions, and, spreading the love and the hate. Yeah. Speaking of hate, a lot of things to talk about this year. And I think what we're just going to do, each of us is just going to mention a thing. It could be related to movies, it could be related to comics or TV or anything, and we're just gonna talk about them, have a nice natter, and just talk about the year and see if we can get a sense of where it has been going in terms of pop culture. So, David, you're the head honcho. Why don't you start us off?
So, I will start us off, but Scott, I think what I'm about to say is going to really piss you off.
I think that's almost guaranteed.
So,
I want to hear it now. I'm excited.
So I've been looking. So to prepare for this show, I'm gonna start with this. So to prepare for this show, I made a list of all the big superhero films that came out and all the big superhero TV shows that came out and the ones that I watched. And
by the way, Capers, of two things. First of all, spoilers inbound. I don't know if we will talk about spoilers. We might not talk about spoilers, but that's going to be a case. I'll put a spoiler alert at the beginning of the show anyway. And also, two, some of us might not have seen or read some of these things. I've got a bunch of notes. Maybe none of us have seen them. Who knows? But we're just going to play it by ear in this one. So, David,
I'm just going to put out So this isn't what I'm about to talk about, but I do want to put out an extra spoiler alert for Star Wars: The Last Jedi because I know it's still very fresh.
Yeah.
We've all seen it, right?
Oh yeah.
It's been less than 24 hours since I've seen it, so I'm good. But it's only recently seen it.
But you've seen it, okay?
Yeah, I haven't seen it actually. I did a whole podcast episode on it, and I haven't seen it.
Well, I know you've seen it. Actually, I really enjoyed that. That was our last episode with Colin Coftree. Is that how you say
that's his name. Yeah.
Yeah, I've met him in person. I don't know how to say his name. Anyway, so getting back to my point. So I made this huge list and looking over it and thinking about like how I would rate things. So I actually worked out like if I was to rate all these major films out of 10, what would it be? And then I was looking at my scores for the DC films and noticing that if I took the average, all the DC films had a higher average rating than all the average Marvel films.
What?
I'm
Yeah.
just back away now and run for cover.
What exactly are you trying to say, David?
Yeah,
Why did you come out and say it?
Which, in fairness, I have to include Lego Batman to make that.
Oh, well,
truly
Lego
work.
Batman throws off the curve, you know?
I gave both Lego Batman and Wonder Woman 9 out of 10.
Which they definitely both deserve.
And Justice League gets a 5 out of 10.
Really?
Right? I didn't think it was horrible. I didn't think it was, I'd say that's where I think I would put Justice League. It's 5 out of 10. I think my disappointment would drag it down to a 4.5, but to be completely fair. But then if I give, so that works out to what? Someone do the math. It's like...
You're asking people that work in pop culture to do maths.
I actually failed math at school, so don't look at me.
So it works out to about 7 point something as the average. So then I have as the average for Spider-Man Homecoming got the 8, which is the highest. Then I have a 7 for Guardians of the Galaxy, and a Thor Ragnarok gets a 6.5. And I think when I did the math, it came out just below, like maybe like a decimal point. But I still think that as a whole over the year, and especially if you include like the TV shows, I think that Iron Fist and Defenders were both a little disappointing. Iron Fist definitely drags down the MCU score significantly. I haven't seen Punisher yet, so I won't weigh in on it. But then the DC CW shows are actually kind of killing it this year, especially their crossover was
I heard there was a big
spectacular.
crossover, and honestly, that almost tempted me to start watching those shows. But I haven't watched them for so long, and there's so many of them, and they're so long, I just don't have the time or the energy. Because they're like soap operas now. They're just so many of them, so many different stories. And it's impossible. It's impossible.
The great thing about this crossover, and obviously I'm going to give some spoilers here, but it's that every show, it felt like every episode was one 4-hour thing, as opposed to last year where it was like, this is an episode of Flash, but the Arrow and Supergirl cast are in it, and then this is an episode of Arrow, but everyone else is in it. Whereas this, it was just like one constant story. They sort of just used everyone in the best place and sort of things. So, like for instance, Barry and Iris's wedding actually happens in the Supergirl episode, and then they actually get married properly in the Legends episode, but not in the Flash episode. Or a major character in Legends dies and he gets his first injury in Arrow, and then he eventually does die in Legends. But it's things like that, and it's like it was actually a really fun watch, much better than the Justice League film. But driving back to my main point is that I actually think overall DC had a better year than Marvel.
Right, okay. So, okay, right, okay. I'm willing to accept that slightly. However, I think the problem with your statement is that 95% of statistics are made up. Now, that's not necessarily true, but that's a metaphor for how numbers don't necessarily correlate, or at least causalitate, with reality.
Sure, but even thinking on my own feelings on these films, where leaving out Lego Batman for a minute, just taking the three MCU movies and the 2 DCEU films. So Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I did not like as much as I thought I would. I think we discussed it at length in our review.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not going to re-talk about stuff we've already talked about on the show.
But I had a lot of problems with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And yes, I still really enjoyed it. And yes, I still gave it a 7 out of 10. But it wasn't as good as I thought it would be. And Thor Ragnarok as well. I think I had a lot of problems. And now I will admit that I think that a lot of my problems with Thor actually boiled down to me having a bit of blockbuster fatigue by the time I saw it.
Yeah.
But I still think that as a whole, it actually has a lot of the same problems that The Mummy had earlier in the summer. And I am definitely borrowing a lot of that point from Will Webb's review, which is great on Indie Tricks on YouTube if you haven't watched it. But that there wasn't much to say about it. And I really liked Spider-Man Homecoming. And I thought that it was probably the most successful Marvel film of the year. And it's probably in my top 5 Marvel films now.
Oh, it's so great. It's like, we've ever done a whole thing about that.
Yeah, as well.
Okay, so...
Let me just drive the point home.
Okay.
Which is that I think that Wonder Woman was such a big success. That was such an unexpected success. And that really made the year great. And yeah, I think Justice League was a bit shit. I think that it definitely dragged the year down for DC. But overall, I'm feeling so much more positive about DC than I did at the beginning of the year. And I think that alone makes it a more successful year for DC.
Okay, so I don't necessarily agree that it's been a better year for DC. Individual films maybe, but who knows? But let's say, hypothetically speaking, you're right. That with terms of Marvel versus DC,
I mean, this
DC
is my opinion.
took the...
I don't have to be right.
No. On this show, you either have to be right or you have to be wrong. It's the law. You know this. So let's say hypothetically that you are right, and that in terms of Marvel versus DC, DC won. That's one good year for DC. How many good years has it been for Marvel?
Oh no! I am absolutely not saying anything, to defame the glorious history of Marvel. I think I even brought it up in our Justice League review that, I rewatched The Avengers, and 5 years later it still holds up.
Yeah.
Well, a year and a half later, BVS does not hold up. So
it didn't hold up 5 minutes after it premiered.
Yeah,
Come on.
So look, I'm not saying that DC's finally won the war or anything like that. I'm just saying
maybe they won a battle.
So let's say it this way: DC finally had its first good year.
Yeah, and I think they better hold on to that memory for a long time because it's going to be the only good one coming up.
I mean, they've got one film coming out in December next year. They're not going to have a good year.
Especially if they're going to go ahead with this Flashpoint thing, that they're just going to, retool the entire DCEU because of how Justice League didn't perform as well as they thought it would.
Well, it's partly that, and Batfleck wants out, and
Oh god, yeah. So
like
yeah,
anyway.
It's crumbling at the seams, and I'm just hoping that we get more Wonder Woman, and maybe get another shot at Suicide Squad. Maybe they'll learn from the mistakes, although it's fucking DC, it doesn't look like it. But anyway, I think we're going to move on now. Fred,
Yep.
What happened this year? What do you think that's worth talking about?
Well, this year, I think there's been an awful lot of good indie comics that have come out this year. We talked a lot about indie comics a couple of episodes ago. So again, I won't go over too much of what we already said before. But that list that we talked about in the episode a couple of episodes ago, a lot of those titles happened to have come out this year, which is odd. We had things like the final volume of Torso Bear. We had Rachel Smith's Wired Up Wrong. We had
NPCT.
I was just about to mention NPCCT. Yeah. I can't say that word ever.
I actually wanted to add, after listening to that episode, those are also 3 of my top 10 comics. Torso Bear, NPCT, and Wired Up Wrong.
Yeah.
Cool. But there's been lots of other things come out this year as well. There's things like Midnight Man Volume 2. I thought that was awesome. And there's been a handful of collected editions of ongoing anthologies this year from people like Madias Comics and Big Punch Studios. They've now gathered together their ongoing anthologies and turned them into proper books, such as Extraversal and paperbacks and inkstains. So it's been something of an accumulative year for indie comics. And
yeah, one more comic I think that I just want to give a shout out to is Periwinkle, that I thought was really good.
Oh yeah, I read that this year too. That's
I read
brilliant.
that on Comic House. That was really fun.
Lovely. And also a couple of days ago,
Fun,
the final volume of Samurai Slasher turned up on my door by Mike Garley.
And Late Fees as well. Samurai Slasher Late Fees.
I haven't read that either, but that came as well.
Amazing. It was like, it's a very personal story. It's very different from all the Samurai Slasher stories. I don't want to give too much away about it, but it's it was like I think I gave a back cover review of something along the lines of like I was not expecting it to be to have as much of like an emotional reaction to this like samurai story. I highly recommend. I think you can still get it digitally. I know that there was only a limited print run.
Yeah, that you'd only get through the Kickstarter, I think, for the third Samurai Slasher volume.
That was so Samurai Late Fees is a one-off that he released over the summer. So I got that from him in person because I wanted to get it signed. He did it with Lucas. Okay, he's working on the Diamonds code name Strike Force Diamond Force, whatever it is on Kickstarter. Anyway.
Which you may hear more about in a later episode of PodCapers.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. I think he's,
I'm just glad that as indie comics are getting a much more boost. I hope that continues into 2018, because we like reading indie comics on the show, we like reviewing them on the site, and so creators out there, keep doing what you're doing. Now, then we're going to move on again. We're going to go through these fairly quickly. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. Chief of one which, there is something I've wanted to talk about for a long time. Something I've mentioned quite a lot. We were going to do it at one point, but then something kind of got in the way. I got transported to an alternate dimension that was animated and full of sing-songs and stupid crazy spoiler ladies. So we couldn't really do it. Yeah, it's
I still don't believe it really happened. I think you were just like had a bad dream or something.
I saw him disappear. I'm a believer. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, but sadly, however, it meant that we couldn't do something which I really want to talk about, which was the Carmilla movie. Have either of you two seen this movie?
No, I'm still very much in the end of season 2, I think.
The what is it called, sorry?
The Carmilla movie. Have you heard of the Carmilla series?
No.
Right, I've talked about this a lot on the show because I fucking love it! But I'm just going to give you a quick recap. Basically, Carmilla the series was a small indie web series on YouTube done by this small thing called Kinda TV. It's basically a modern retelling of the classic vampire novella Carmilla, which predates Dracula by several decades. Although the original novella, whilst it is a good read, doesn't really it's kind of sort of dated because it's basically a cautionary tale against lesbians. This show is not that. It is a mostly.
I think it's the opposite.
It is exactly the opposite. It's a mostly LGBTQI led cast with mostly LGBTQI characters, mostly women characters, mostly female characters, and it's fucking awesome. And it's got such a huge fan base. It's basically about a bunch of scrappy young go-getters in an Austrian college have to find out about this crazy vampire cult, and stuff happens, and then there's brain slugs, and there's giant god anglerfish, and vampires, and lesbians, oh my. And I cannot understate how awesome this is. If you like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and wish there'd been more gay stuff in it than there already was, this is the show for you. It's fucking amazing, and I cannot oversell it enough. It's awesome. I love these characters. I love these storylines. It's awesome, and I love it, and I love it, and I love it. And because I love it so much, and because so many other people love it so much, they managed to make an indie movie about it. It was this big, huge thing. I pre-ordered this movie. That's what I fucking did. And I'm not going to go into too great detail because I want you guys to fucking watch it. But the movie is great. It's so good. It feels like a genuine continuation of the show. All the characters we know and love return, and it's fucking awesome, and there's vampires and ghosts and spookiness and again lesbians. Oh my, it's awesome. It's awesome.
I have to say, so it's the web series is all available on YouTube, and I actually took Scott's advice, and I think I basically watched the first season as if it was a movie all in one go, and I was live texting Scott the whole time, and he basically was like, "Shut up and watch it already!" Like I was just being like, and basically every text was, "Oh my god, this is great," and then, "Oh my god, that was great," and then, "Oh my god, it's so funny."
Yeah, and I was like, I've seen it. I recommended it to you.
But I'm just trying to echo that, like, Scott's not the only one who loves it. I also agree that it's a great show, and highly recommend it.
It's awesome.
Very good. I'll have to check it out sometime then. I'll treat it as a early Christmas present, maybe.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Make sure you watch the series first. There's 3 main series and 1 prequel series, like a season 0, and then watch the movie, and it's fucking awesome. And it capers. If you haven't already seen it, shame on you. David! What else? Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say it's very easy to watch because it's all like, it's on YouTube, and a lot of the episodes are only like a few minutes. I think it's like 3 to 5 minute episodes. So even though there's 26 episodes per season, it's like it's not as daunting as that sounds.
No, all the episodes are fairly short, and it's so watchable. It's so watchable.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you can kind of watch the first season like it's its own movie if you just put it on the playlist and like let it autoplay.
Oh god, it's awesome. And there's lots of good sort of like other series that all these actors have been in surrounding it. Things like Couple-ish and lots of other stuff that I could go on and on recommending, but I won't. I'll just let you guys find out for yourselves. David, what else do you want to talk about that happened in 2017?
So, my last thing was how DC had a great year, and my next thing is about something Fox did, not the merger, but it begins with an L and it ends with an N, and it's not Logan.
It's Legion? Yeah!
Which I fucking loved. And again, Legion and Logan were my 2 superhero 10 out of 10s this year. God, I think, Logan...
this is what pisses me off so much about the Fox-Disney merger, because X-Men has been doing so well. Like, even without something like Apocalypse, which not a lot of people particularly were that enthusiastic about, they have been doing so well, and they've got so many good stuff coming up. And if Disney, if you...
Wait. Have you not heard what Bob Iger said?
No, I have not. What did Bob Iger, the bastard, say?
Said that they're looking to create basically a way to continue the R-rated Marvel films. It would essentially be, like, the way that he phrases it, it would be essentially like a movie version of the Marvel Max imprint.
Okay.
So where they will still continue to have films like Deadpool and Logan and do these sort of R-rated, harsher kind of films, but it would be under a different kind of Marvel banner. There would be like the Marvel...
It would be like what Vertigo is to DC.
Yeah, or what the Marvel Max was, or Marvel Knights.
Okay, alright. Well, that's a little bit reassuring. If they fuck with it anyway, I'm going to throw a hissy. You know this.
Anyway.
But Legion, I haven't seen all of Legion. I haven't finished the series yet. It's one of those things where I watch it for a couple of episodes, I put it away, watch it for a couple more episodes, I put it away, and so I'm making my way through it. I'm a busy person.
I think I watched it all in 1 week.
Wow.
And so, first of all, Logan, Scott and I have already spoken at length about it. I thought it was...
And you could have it all.
I think it's about as perfect as it could get. I think... Every film has problems. Logan was amazing.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Legion, similarly, I think a lot of people had a lot of problems with Legion. I've spoken to a lot of people about it. And personally, I had some problems with it as well. But that doesn't stop the fact that I think I enjoyed it more than any other superhero show this year. I think it was more interesting, more well put together, well written, well produced. I just think that it was, it was checking every single box that I wanted out of it.
And it had Dan Stevens, so...
Yeah, and I love Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah, and Aubrey Plaza, yeah.
Not that I've watched Parks and Rec, but I've seen, like, a lot of other stuff that she's been in. Oh, Ingrid Goes West is also on my list for this year, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
I just think that Legion, it was just like, I think it was the fact that it was looking at superpowers, not just superheroes, but superpowers in a different way. And I think it's just something that I really connected to.
It's exploring new avenues, and that's what I liked about it, is the idea it took this familiar concept, but also try to look at it through a different way, which is what a good show or a good movie should do. Especially, this is the thing with superhero movies, is that people really need to be careful not to be generic. And as much as I like the fact that the superhero genre is expanding even more so nowadays, it does really put the pressure on creators to really try and push the envelope.
And I also think we can all agree that Fox is probably the one that's doing the best job at actually pushing those boundaries.
Yeah.
With, like looking at their slate next year, you got New Mutants, which is like a horror kind of thing. Which is
the trailer really freaked me the fuck out.
I was like, what is this? I was expecting Cannonball.
Yeah, I was like, New Mutants, great. I love the New Mutants. I love, I'm a big fan of Wolfsbane. I really like that character, because Scotland! And I just thought, it's going to be fun, like, all the kids having all mutant adventures. I was like, fucking no! No!
Yeah, so, and then
Arya Stark's a werewolf!
Anyway. So like Legion, I think for me, it was like my number one show of the year, and I was definitely expecting Defenders to be my number one show, because everyone knows I'm a huge Daredevil fan. If Daredevil's in it, I love it. I don't care. But Defenders did not reach anywhere near Legion. I also think because the main character in Legion is also named David, that helped.
Oh, is that how you connect to your characters? They share similar names. Okay, I see what you're about.
Well, I mean, what others?
By that logic, French are like Big Hero 6.
I've not seen that.
You've not seen Big? Oh, it's good actually.
Yeah. I've not seen Legion.
Your bias is because it's Disney.
Okay, that's not 2017. So, Fred, what did you like about 2017? What's another thing?
Well, 2017. Well, technically, something else I wanted to mention is something that technically hasn't happened yet, but it's been revealed this year. It's from the world of television, and it's something that appears to have split the fandom like I was going to say like a banana. Is that a thing? Split like a banana?
Yeah, split like a banana split, yes.
Banana split. That is that after over 50 years, the Doctor is going to be a woman.
Yes. Now, we're going to talk about this in another episode, aren't we?
Yeah, and I also want to point out it's currently December 23rd. So we still haven't seen the Christmas special, so we don't know what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
But yeah, just because this episode's coming out on the 27th, I thought it was just worthwhile to like mention that. Yeah, we're still a week left of 2017, but we're gonna still rain on it.
Yeah. But I mean, I was really excited when I found out. I think it's about time. I think we're due. Jodie Whittaker, she's a great actor. I've seen her in Broadchurch, and she's great. And I'm excited. The only thing I was really not looking forward to, what sort of put me off, was in her first reveal trailer. And this is, I think, probably a very sexist comment, because I don't know. But I thought her outfit was a bit weird. I think it's so stupid that the first thing I'm criticizing about a new female Doctor is that her outfit doesn't mesh up. But I just thought it looked a bit generic and a bit boring.
In the new picture, the one with the rainbow stripe.
Yeah, the new picture, she looks great. But in the first trailer, she had like a generic hoodie on and stuff, and I just thought, she looks boring.
I assumed that was her right after the regeneration, like, because that looked more like Peter Capaldi's outfit.
Not really. Maybe I got a bit confused, and so I was very disappointed in myself that I thought that. But I was very excited about getting a female Doctor.
Well, I think when Matt Smith was revealed as the Doctor, like, he was wearing like just some generic black suit that wouldn't turn out to be his final.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay. I think this is.
And I think even Capaldi was announced in like just jeans and a t-shirt. Like, I don't think he had.
Yeah. Because they've got to make finalizations. They haven't started. Well, I'm assuming they maybe they just started filming yet. I don't know. But I'm excited, and we're going to talk more about that in the next episode. Oh my god, it's the next episode. We're going to talk about that.
Next episode with our resident Doctor Who expert, Rob Wallace.
Always looking forward to that. Now, my turn again. So I've talked about the movie last time, so I'm going to talk about something that's TV related. If I'm going to talk about two things, we've touched on them before on this show, but only very briefly, so I want to expand upon that. Gifted and Runaways.
So I haven't seen either of these yet.
Neither.
Oh, neither of you. Okay, well then I'm going to pick something else then. Okay.
No. I mean, what I will say is I've heard a lot of good things about both of those, and they're next on my list. But I just haven't had a chance to.
I'm up to date on them, and I can honestly say they're two very different shows, but they're both fucking excellent. Runaways perhaps a little bit more than Gifted, but Gifted, it really knows what it wants to do, and it's very comfortable with what it's doing, and it's just really cool, and it's just really good. And there's a couple of characters that I would like to see on it. I am waiting on tenterhooks for the debut, the cinematic debut of Chamber, because I really like that character, but mainly because he's English. Yeah. England, and so I'm waiting for that, but hopefully that'll happen soon. Maybe, I don't know, but the show's still good. Runaways, it's really good, and I'm not going to spoil anything about that.
I love the comic. I love especially the first volume.
I really love the comic. I stopped reading after a while. It's not exactly like the comics, but it's exactly like the comics in all the right ways, and it does things different in all the right ways. It's Brian K. Vaughan, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's involved with the show. I don't know to what degree, but it's definitely its own thing, but in a great way, in a good way. So that's fine. So I'll talk about something else, something that hopefully you both will be slightly more familiar with, and that is, I just thought it was worth talking about Riverdale.
I've seen the first episode.
Fred, have you seen anything about Riverdale?
Nah, I'm not seeing Riverdale.
Because I want to get someone's opinion on this, because it's based on the Archie comics.
Yeah,
I knew that,
which I have never read, because I think it's a very American comic, and obviously we have an American with us here in Expat. So the comics I understand were very twee and corny and lighthearted, and this, from what I can tell,
this is like the Dark Knight version of Archie.
Yeah, it feels like a very, for want of a better phrase, CW show.
Well, in my mind, it felt like the CW wanted to make Twin Peaks, but use an existing property, so they just slotted Archie into it.
Yeah, and it's I watched like the first 2-3 episodes, and I just thought, like, I got the feeling that if I knew what Archie was, I might get a kick out of this to see these characters in a different way, but I hadn't. So I was just watching another CW show, and I do not care for teenagers and their slightly mundane problems, but that have been magnified to an unreasonable degree.
I mean, it seemed like it was a really interesting show. Like, I watched the pilot, and it seemed really interesting, and I was like, I probably would enjoy this if I kept watching it, but it's just like, I'm not that interested in high school dramas.
Yeah.
And that's all it was. It was another 90210 kind of,
One Tree Hill, all those sorts of things, and that's fine if you like them.
Yeah,
but no, I mean, maybe there's a couple of stuff that I don't know. Do you know what it is? It's Secret Life of the American Teenager. Who cares? Yeah. Where they mention sex like 50 times every episode.
I guess you have a long way to go to make that kind of show feel fresh and relevant. I guess that kind of premise. New viewers.
Well, I mean, I think that what I've read about it, it sounds like it is doing some interesting things. I just don't think that it was interesting enough for me to actually go back and watch it.
Yeah, and
So going off of that, I'm gonna go to actually another high school show that I loved this year, and this is actually gonna bring me to. I made a list of my top 5 Netflix shows from 2017.
Okay.
So I know a few of these aren't original Netflix shows, but anyway, so. The one that I really want to talk about first is American Vandal.
Oh, I've not heard of that.
Neither have I.
So, have either of you listened to Serial?
No.
Yeah.
I ate cereal this morning.
Do you know what the whole thing with, or like Making a Murderer, like the whole thing of like looking at like
like that documentary that.
Yeah, so it's like a so like. There's like all these documentaries.
Oh no! I do know what you're talking about. I do know. I saw the trailer. I never actually saw the thing, but I thought about this the other day actually. This is the one where it's like a big sort of spoof of these really serious, dramatic.
Yes, exactly. And so the premise is, I'll explain it. So the premise is, so it's done like Serial. So Serial, the first season at least, was of in-depth exploration as a podcast into whether or not this high school student killed another high school student about 20 years ago. And it was very, very interesting, and like they sort of present both sides of the story, like evidence of whether he did do it and evidence against. And anyway, So American Vandal is basically a spoof of all this. So it's at a high school. This kid is accused of spray painting 27 dicks onto one each on the faculty cars, and he gets expelled, and it sort of like just ruins his life. And so all this happens around like March of his senior year. So it's sort of like the end of his senior year before graduation. And so this sophomore, so he's a senior, and so then these two sophomores sort of take it on themselves to sort of investigate in this documentary. And it's presented completely straight, like
but none of it's real.
None of it's real. No, it's all fake. But it's funny, but only because it's so ridiculous. So I'll give you my favorite example. So they do like these reenactments of things and like use like computer generated. It's very like, they in depth. So they're trying to prove whether or not the main witness has ever lied about anything in the past. Like, is he really trustworthy, or does he lie a lot? And so, like, one of the things that he lies about is or that they're investigating whether he lied about is whether or not he got a hand job from this girl. And so, like, they go to like the summer camp where this supposedly happened, and like examine the scene from like different angles. And it's like, could anyone have seen them? Is there anyone that we could find to corroborate the story that like this nerdy kid got a hand job from like the hottest girl at camp? And like whatever, and then there's like this like visual reenactment where it's like this girl, like it's like monochrome dummies sort of like doing this reenactment of a hand job, and they're like panning around to show you how you couldn't see it from any of these angles, and it's just like they're presenting this as if it's a completely serious thing, and it's just like I am cracking up because obviously it is just like the most hilarious thing.
I'm just thinking about it. That sounds awesome. It's one of the things that I haven't seen yet, but I do. I wanted to see the first time I saw the trailer, and because there's a lot of these documentaries out there, and they're all dealing with very serious topics, but with an influx of any kind of medium or any kind of genre, any kind of style, there comes parodies. Yeah,
and this is a brilliant one, and I won't give away anything, but I would definitely say that one thing that they're very good at is there's a lot of like sort of twists and turns in it, and I found myself getting very invested in it, and it feels very real because of the way it's shot and the way it's produced, and like the twists. And I'm like, I have to remind myself that this isn't real, but like it feels like very like, realistic progressions of the story. Yeah. So I also highly recommend, if you watch American Vandal, I think there's only 6 or 8 episodes, and they're all about half an hour. So if you can set aside like an afternoon and just watch them all, it's really good. So then, do you mind if I just list off the other 4 shows that I had on my list?
Yeah. You know what? Go ahead. Yeah.
So, Stranger Things, obviously, which I think we may want to go into a bit more later. The Good Place.
I've seen a few episodes of that. It was all right.
It is one of the best sitcoms I've seen lately, and without giving anything away, it is basically the one sitcom that I've been able to watch that I think does not continuously end on the status quo. Mm-hmm. It actually advances as a story, but it still manages to have the sitcom structure, and it's really funny. It's Kristen Bell and Ted Danson. It's great. Then my other 2 are The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Unbreakable. They're alive. Damn it.
It's a miracle.
It's going to be a fascinating transition. Damn it.
Yeah, so that one, I actually just rewatched a lot of it, and it's so good. Titus Andromedon might be my favorite character of all time.
I like boobs in California.
Sun in California. My friends in California. The boobs in California.
Oh, God.
And then finally, Rick and Morty, which I also think...
Wubba-lubba-dub-dub!
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely probably deserving of its own thing. But I just wanted to bring up, those are my 5 Netflix shows that I thought were definitely worth mentioning, at least by name, if not going a bit more in-depth.
We may do, we may not do, but we're going to move on now. Fred, what else do you want to talk about?
Ooh, what else might I would like to talk about? The things we covered so much now already. I'm just having a ponder.
Go back to something if you want.
I guess, yeah.
I know I mentioned like pretty much I've already mentioned like everything that's come out this year between my discussion of DC, Marvel, and Fox. So.
I made a huge list. So if you want to borrow something, I mean,
yeah.
All right. Well, spinning off from that, then, I have actually seen. Well, no, actually, I haven't seen all that many superhero films this year, and I think it's growing because I'm starting to get a bit of superhero movie fatigue.
Yeah. This is.
I've seen. Out of how many were there? There were 5. No, more than 5. Well, 5 main Marvel and DC films: Guardians, Thor, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, Justice League. Of those 5, I've seen just one, I think. Guardians 2.
And then there was also Lego Batman, Logan, and Power Rangers.
Oh,
So rounding it out to 8. And then if you add in Kingsman, and I also kind of count Star Wars, not that it is a superhero movie, but it's at the same level, and that rounds it out to 10.
Yeah, it's and this is why I like it. What I say when superheroes try to adapt to like a different genre, like Ant-Man, for example. That was a superhero movie, yeah, but it was also a heist movie.
Yeah.
And so when you incorporate different elements into it and subgenres, so like Deadpool was also a comedy, and New Mutants is going to be a bit more of a horror sort of thing.
Or like how Logan was a bit more of a Western.
Exactly, and it's those sort of things that keep things fresh. They're still superheroes, because I mean, when I say with Star Wars, when you boil it down, a lot of things are superhero related, but they incorporate other elements. So, because I mean, this goes for Marvel as well as everyone else. Like, you really got to be careful, because otherwise people will lose interest, and the diehard fans like us, we'll still keep going because we're suckers.
Yeah.
But I think, I think that's why. Like, by the time I got to Thor, like, it wasn't just all of those films that I'd seen at that point, because I actually made a list of all the blockbusters this year. So, in addition to those, I'd seen Blade Runner 2049, The Fate of the Furious, John Wick, Beauty and the Beast, Ghost in the Shell, Atomic Blonde, The Mummy, and I skipped Transformers, War for the Planet of the Apes, Dunkirk, and Valerian, and King Kong. But if you consider it, that's so many blockbusters in one year. And it's just like...
Out of all of those, I only skipped Transformers because I genuinely do not give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I actually want to see Planet of the Apes at some point, but and Valerian, like some of those I still want to see.
You know what? Going off of that, then I want to go into my next thing, which is Valerian. Because I'm a bit of a fan of Luc Besson.
Sorry, do you mind if I just make my point real quick and then we can talk about it?
Sure, yeah.
And my point was just that I'd seen so many of these films that by the time I was sitting in the cinema for Thor, I felt like I wasn't as excited to begin with.
That's
just because I was like,
here we are again, sort of thing.
Yeah, here we are again kind of thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be like that. But as I do want to talk about Valerian, because I'm quite a big fan of Luc Besson. I'm not a massive fan, but I do really like a lot of his work. I
am a huge Luc Besson fan.
Just because
There's very few things that he's touched that I haven't seen.
He's so stylistic, and he's so... I think he's kind of passionate, even if some of the stuff he does is not that great and kind of generic.
I think
it's so fun. It's so fun.
I think that what you get from a Luc Besson film is, and I know this going into every single one, you're going to get a really good action film that has that touches slightly on gender politics. That's how I would describe almost every single one of his films.
Which brings me to Valerian, because I saw the trailer and I thought, ooh, it's Luc Besson, ooh, it's sci-fi, because I like Fifth Element, so I thought, oh, this is going to be cool. And I saw it, and it's like, there's elements I like, I guess, but I mean...
Yeah,
it was...
that's what I heard.
How to describe it without giving stuff away. Have you seen it, Fred?
I haven't, no. But I have seen... Going off what you said about his films kind of being, a little bit generic, but still quite enthusiastic. I have seen Lucy, and I think that pretty much, like describes how I feel about Lucy. Yeah, it's not the best film in the world, but it's fun.
Yeah,
it's inventive. Yeah. It's got like some great action to it.
Yeah, I never expect a Luc Besson film to have much merit. Although saying that, I did write some very interesting articles about the gender issues in his early films, and that's sort of why I brought that up. But obviously, Leon, Nikita, and The Fifth Element, especially, have a lot to do with it's like spectacle with action and a little bit of gender politics. And I think he's sort of lost that edge as he's gone on. Like the Taken films aren't really anything; they're just Liam Neeson runs around.
Pretty much
I love the Transporter films, but yeah, exactly. They're just generic action films, and they're great, and they're like the best of those, I think, up until John Wick came out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
So, Valerian, I mean, the reason why I brought it up was because it was based on a comic, which I haven't seen, this French comic. And, yeah, it was sort of nothing. And I really blame a lot of that on Dane DeHaan. I really like Dane DeHaan. I think he's a good actor. He did not bring a lot to this role. He was just sort of there, and he wasn't particularly charismatic and a lot of stuff.
That's how I describe him in almost every single one of his roles.
I don't know. I really liked him in what was that one with Orville Plaza that he did, the zombie one, Life After Beth.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Well, that was really good, and he was.
I've seen Chronicle, Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, Chronicle was great. I love Chronicle.
Chronicle's great. I just don't think that he is necessarily. I think he plays the role well, but I don't think he's. I don't know.
I don't know. But anyway, so let's move on again. I just wanted to touch on Valerian.
Yeah.
David, what else you got for us?
So I kind of want to go back to those things that I was mentioning earlier. I think it's worth it. Have you guys both watched Rick and Morty?
I'm all caught up.
I'm not quite caught up. I think I'm about halfway through season 3. I remember blitzing through 1 and 2, but then you had some reason just like to go up to the first half. But
I think, season 3, I think because I convinced you to start watching Rick and Morty, and then when you what happened with me is the same with because Will was the one who convinced me to watch it. Is season 1 and 2 were already out, and then season 3 was like trickling out on Netflix. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I think I want to talk about probably the most iconic thing to have come from Rick and Morty in 2017. You both know exactly what I'm going to say.
I think I do.
I'm Pickle Rick!
Pickle Rick!
That was
that episode. Yeah. Do you know what I like about that episode? It's silly, it's goofy, it's zany, it's weird. It's got all these sci-fi elements, and it's got this sharp wit. But it also explores these characters and their really deep-seated dysfunction.
Yeah, there's genuine character development in the Pickle Rick episode. I mean, who would have expected that?
I mean, I think it's emblematic of the whole show. If you don't know a lot about Rick and Morty and you want to find out more by watching one episode, this would probably be the episode to watch.
I disagree, but
well, what would you say would be the episode to watch then?
I think there's some episodes in the middle of season 1 that I think are the ones that hit it for me. I can't think of a specific one. I just think that with the Pickle Rick episode, it is a good jumping on point if you want to know more about it. But if you genuinely want to get the most out of that episode, I think watching it in context really helps.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
But I think the nice thing about the episode is that it has the balances the two extremes of the show. You have like this freakish sci-fi, but then also these deeper character development going on.
Yeah.
And it jogs about with them. So it's a good example of, as you say, how to just jump on the show. If you don't know it, then just go watch that, because it does have those at its core.
Yeah, I
want every L. Are you afraid of me now?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe the voice episode and the Get Swifty episode is also a good jump.
You gotta get swifty.
Get swifty.
Put down your pants. Shit on the floor.
Anyway,
a classic for all time.
Yeah, but I also think that like this season of Rick and Morty, like I was really concerned because even though I'd only just gotten into it by the time season 3 started, I knew that it had been a year and a half. You know, I knew all the story behind it and how the fan base felt about it, and I did have this concern that like would season 3 live up to the hype and be as good as in the past, and they knocked it out of the park. And I don't care if it takes them another year and a half to make season 4 if they can do that again. God,
yeah, it's just so it's so great, and it was so worth the wait. And I've even seen clips from reviews and stuff from the Rick and Morty VR game that they did. Have you
oh yeah, I've heard about it. Yeah,
and that looked like if I was gonna get VR, which I'm not because I'm not fucking made of money, that would be the first game I'd probably get, just because. That looks fucking amazing, just to interact with Rick and Morty and do all sorts of crazy, zany, wubba-dubba-dub-dub shit. Fred, what else have you got for us?
I think probably my best superhero, well, not just superhero, but best blockbuster cinematic experience from this year, just going off on what I said about, oh god, too many superhero films. Countering that, I still think Power Rangers was one of my favourite films from this year. I just wasn't expecting that film to be the way it was. I was just so pleasantly surprised by how
it felt so we did an episode on the show, so I don't think we should talk about it that
Yeah.
much. But for me, looking back on it after some time, it felt like it was both a genuine attempt at a modern retelling, but also done with a lot of love and sincerity and respect for the original show. And that's the thing, because there's so many modern reinterpretations of stuff where they're like, oh, remember how that thing used to be? Wasn't that stupid? No, this is better. And they didn't try that.
Absolutely. Sorry, just 1 second. Fred, can you stop drumming your fingers because it's coming through on the mic?
Oh, sorry. I get too excited about these things.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go back off of what Scott just said. So yeah, absolutely. So I actually saw the film with Rob Wallace, who actually did not grow up on Power Rangers. This was his very first experience with the Power Rangers ever. And he was sort of very dubious, and I convinced him to come with me to a screening, and we were just, he sees, dozens of movies a week. He has his own review site and stuff, so he was just like going to see it just as a film. And I was there fanboying out the whole time, like, when that, like, the version of the old theme song came on, I was like, oh, it's like my childhood again. But like afterwards, I asked Rob what he thought, and he was like, it was really good. Thank you for convincing me to see this film, because I wouldn't have seen it otherwise.
See, I've never had someone thank me for introducing them to a movie.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, I'm laying it on a bit thick on that, but it's also, I think the point I'm making is, I think that the movie did a really good job of striking a chord with, or just being good in and of itself, to someone, for someone like Rob, who is a film critic, to genuinely say that it was a good movie, having had no previous experience with the Power Rangers, I think really speaks to the quality of the film.
Yeah, but if you want to know more, go back and listen to our episode that we did a good long while back. A good episode and good movie. But I want to move on now. I want to talk about something else that I love with a deep and burning passion. And that is, I told that devil to take you back. Wynonna Earp!
Oh, yes.
Now, Fred,
another great show that Scott turned me on to.
Yeah, Fred, are you familiar with Wynonna Earp?
It sounds like something else I don't know. No, I don't. Fill me in.
All right, so, for those of you who don't know, Wynonna Earp is basically sort of like a modern-day sort of occult Western sort of thing. Deals with the descendant, like the great something or other granddaughter of Wyatt Earp, the the lawman, Wynonna Earp, who is given his magic gun, Peacemaker, which can kill these things called revenants, which are all the people he ever killed who went to hell and have risen as sort of like demon people thing. And basically she is a reluctant hero who has to battle these spawn of hell, along with her younger sister, Waverly Earp, who is cute as a button, her sort of partner sort of thing with this shadowy paranormal investigatory branch of the government, Black Badge, who's called his name is Agent Dolls. He is fucking awesome because actually I'm not going into too many spoilers because I don't want to give too much away.
And then there's one other character who I don't think we'll mention.
There's one other character who is awesome that I don't think we're mentioning, but let's at least just say he's got a very mysterious past and a very, very fetching hat.
He is, what I would say is he's kind of the Spike to Wynonna's Buffy.
In many respects, yeah. And this...
Yeah, and actually, so when I was watching it, my feeling on it was, I think it's really, really good in its own right, but I also think a really good way to describe it is it's sort of like Buffy, but as a Western.
Yeah, that's right. If Carmilla is Buffy, but like I know Buffy was at one point in a university, but like Carmilla is Buffy in a university. This is Buffy as a Western in Canada.
And it's very much sort of like playing on that sort of the same thing with Buffy being like the chosen one, and like the whole thing with like there's only one way to kill the vampires was with a stake or whatever. It's sort of the same thing with the gun. And it plays really well. And I actually just watched the first season and a half, and half the second season in one weekend.
Yeah, second season came out this year.
Yeah, it's very addictive, very good. I haven't finished the second season, but it's great.
Oh god! Oh my god! And the fan reaction to the show has been immense. There's a lot of shows coming out of the. It's from the Sci-Fi Network.
Yeah.
And a lot of shows have been coming out, like Killjoys and Black Matter, both of which I watched, both of which I gave a fair chance, both of which I don't care about anymore. Like, I do not care about Black Matter. I kind of like Killjoys, but I couldn't stand the female lead on that show. I thought she was not a good actor at all. It had, like, I think it was Aaron Ashmore or Sean Ashmore.
One of them, yeah.
Either like Jimmy Olsen or Iceman, one or the other. But he was.
They
good
are
in
twins. It's hard to tell them apart.
Yeah, but he was, whoever he was good in it. But just didn't care about anything else. And I think I watched Into the Badlands for a while. I tried to keep up with that. I ended up dropping it despite its best efforts.
Yeah,
but
there's definitely a lot of the sci-fi shows that.
Wynonna Earp just immediately got its tentacles into me and it just would not let go, and I thank goodness, because I love the show. I love it. Did I get that come across? Did that come across that I love it?
So you're saying you kind of like it?
Kinda, yeah, it's alright, I guess. But I cannot recommend it enough, because it's
I would definitely say that if you're looking on Netflix for, Netflix does those subgenre things, so it's like strong female lead, action,
strong
Western.
female supporting cast as well. Strong characters all around.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, that's where this would show up. But
it also has a strong LGBTQI presence in it as well, like Carmilla, which is another reason why I like it.
And it's a really strong show in general. I think, again, like, very much like what I was saying about Legion. It has very strong writing, very strong production, very strong acting. Like, it ticks all the boxes again.
What can you say except that it's about a crazy chick with a gun? That's a quote. So I think we're going to move on again. David, what have you got for us?
This is a film, I think it's another one that we didn't get to discuss because Scott was away on his trip to, what was it again?
Disneyland.
Yeah, okay. So I want to talk about Blade Runner 2049.
Good, I want to talk about that too. What did you think of it?
So I want to just preface this by saying, not only am I a huge fan of the original Blade Runner, like, it is one of my all-time #1 favorite films, possibly my all-time favorite, period. I am also a huge fan of Philip K. Dick, who wrote the novel Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is what Blade Runner is based on. Saying all that, I haven't watched the Phil K. Dick Electric Dreams series that's come out.
Neither have I. I'm going to give it a shot at some point.
Yeah, I would.
I mean,
wait. So when Blade Runner 2049 came out, I was very divided about whether or not I even wanted to watch it, because I was that concerned that basically I love the director's cut of the original Blade Runner.
Which one?
No, the one that's called the director's cut.
Okay.
Not the final cut. So there's 3 main versions, which is the original cut, the director's cut, and the final cut.
Oh. Lord.
So I'm telling you, I love this film. So the director's cut is the one where I feel it gives the most ambiguity as to whether or not Deckard is a replicant. And
the only person that thinks he's a replicant is fucking Ridley Scott.
Right. To the extent that in the book, it's definitively said that he's human.
Yeah.
But I like the ambiguity, and I like that they don't answer the question outright. And the best thing I can say about 2049 is they still don't. They address it in this really fun way, in this great scene, and they don't say one way or another whether or not he's a replicant or a human. And essentially what they say is, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's not the point of it. The whole...
Right, and I did really enjoy the film. So, Scott, what did you think?
You know what? I went in this movie deliberately with no expectations. I similarly really like Blade Runner. Maybe not as much as you do, because there are points. I don't like the fact there's multiple cuts of it. I don't really like that. If you want to do an extended director's cut, that's fine. But after that, leave it alone. And I sometimes have problems with the really slow pace, but that works for it, so it's not really a criticism, it's just my personal taste. But I went into Blade Runner 2049 with no idea what it was going to be like, and no expectations either way, and I was given not only a movie that stands on its own merits, but also lives up and continues and jumps off of the story that was started in Blade Runner. People are saying that it's one of the best sequels ever made, and frankly I agree. It gets the original style of the movie, but also tries its own thing and it basically does everything right. Everything you'd want from a sequel. It does its own thing well. It apes back to the original well. But also it never feels like it's rehashing anything. It feels like a continuation. It feels like progression. It introduces new characters that I like. Provides callbacks to characters that I previously liked, but they've evolved and they've changed, but they're still recognizable. It ticks all the boxes. Is it perfect? No, but then I personally believe that no film is perfect. But you know what? This movie comes pretty goddamn close.
Yeah, absolutely. Fred, did you see it?
No, I've only recently seen one of the original Blade Runners. I lost my virginity to the final cut version of Blade Runner.
I think we talked about this.
Yeah,
Final cut is my least. Is I don't like either of the other two. Basically, I know that there's 8 technically, but I'm not going to talk about the other 8.
Yeah,
God,
yeah,
man.
there's 8 because it's it includes things like cuts for TV, cuts for foreign markets, and because it's so famous for having the 3 different versions, in the full list there is technically 8. There's the other 5 are not worth discussing because they're basically different versions of the different cuts that are just like censored or monitored or whatever.
Yeah, so we don't need to talk about that, but yeah, I am.
Yeah, without giving anything away, then I will just say that I really liked Ryan Gosling's character. I think that the way that he fit into the world was really interesting. The fact that he is definitively a replicant as well. Was very interesting take on the idea of a replicant and the idea of sort of. I feel like he really his character made Deckard's character more interesting.
I think they got complemented over. Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford worked really well together. They had a lot of chemistry.
Good chemistry.
I'm just glad they managed to get Harrison Ford back because he did not, as far as I'm aware, he did not have a great time working on the original Blade Runner.
I recently saw an interview with him where he was like, they're asking him, you've gone back to all 3 of your iconic roles now. You've done Indiana Jones, Han Solo, and Rick Deckard. Which was your favorite to go back to? And he's like, I'm just happy people are still watching these films, which I think is his way of saying I hated all 3 of it.
Yeah. He likes what he does and he does what he does, and as long as he gives good performances in whatever he's doing, I'm fine, which he usually does. So I'm good, and yeah, it's one of those things. When it comes out on DVD, if it is already, maybe I might get it. I don't know. I'm just hoping they don't include like 3 cuts of this movie.
Yeah, they've definitively said they're not going to do that. They've also said the other thing that I think the one negative thing I had about it was it is very slow, and I sort of felt like was the
original film. So.
Right? No, I know. I was expecting it, but I also felt the 2.5-hour runtime. Whereas when I feel like with The Last Jedi, I didn't feel like I was like, okay, can we just get on with it?
Yeah.
Let's there's plot. I know this is a beautiful shot of the desert, but I'm tired.
Yeah. So, moving on now, Fred, what else do you got for us?
Well, spinning off on what David just said, I am still very much in awe of The Last Jedi. I thought that was fabulous stuff. Terrific film. Very good.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you saw recently, we obviously, the last episode we did was an episode about The Last Jedi, so I talked about it a lot there, my feelings towards it. They haven't really changed in the brief period that we talked about that, so we're not going to...
I would also say that a lot of what you said echoes a lot of the way I feel about it. I really liked it.
There is one thing I want to talk about, actually, with The Last Jedi. One thing to talk about.
And I have one thing as well.
Probably the same thing that you drew my attention to. Apparently, a petition went up to get The Last Jedi taken out of canon. Right.
Okay. God, this is my turn to rant. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I saw this had happened, and I immediately was like, either I need to call Scott and record something right now, or do what I actually did, which is I wrote an article and I ended up emailing Fred. I was like, get this fuck up immediately. I was so fucking angry because it's like fans need to be fucking grateful that they are still making these movies 40 years later. Okay? The fact that we still the fact that we still have Star Wars movies. Be happy. Take what you get. I know that you didn't all love it, but you can't just fucking say, "Oh, well, I didn't like it." Do it again. do it again until I like it. It's like, write some fucking fan fiction and get it off your chest, you fucking nerd.
Yeah,
like, seriously, this is not the time. No, Scott, you're not gonna.
Is this what it's like when I'm ranting?
I am so fucking annoyed about this because it's like it feels like the same thing that like, and I went back to like Firefly. Like everyone keeps saying like, oh, it would be great to bring Firefly back. No. At this point in life, 12 years later, it is not good to bring Firefly back. I don't want Firefly back. In fact, we got it back, and you are being ungrateful for Serenity. We got it back, guys. Fucking accept it. And it's the same for like all these other things. It's like, oh, we want more. You know what? At some point, you just have to accept that you are a fan, not a creator. If you want to be a creator, write fan fiction or actually get into the film business. Don't complain because the people that you love who make these films, you love for making these films, didn't do exactly what you wanted them to do. Shut the fuck up, and nobody cares who Snoke was.
yeah. Here's the thing. I agree with a lot of your points. I do think that as a fan, or just as a film goer in general, you need to accept what is given you. However, I don't think that you have to like it. I think you're allowed to complain.
No.
I think you're allowed to criticize.
Yeah.
But you do have to like, okay, this is what you got. You don't have to like it, but you do have to accept that is what it is. I mean, if I can accept the fucking prequels, I don't like the prequels, I fucking hate the prequels. But you can't say you have to take them out of canon or say, do it again. Because, I mean, do we deserve better Star Wars movies? I think so, but should we be grateful that they're still making them? Maybe not. I don't know. I think. I
think that if you are a fan and you want them to keep making Star Wars movies, you're getting what you want. Like just because it's not answering your fan theory or giving you your fan theory, which is a lot of what I think people are angry about.
I think there's a difference between demanding better and saying that you need to go over and do it again. You're not the teacher. You're not. You can't say the student, this essay wasn't good enough, you need to rewrite it. You're allowed to grade it and say, I like this part, I didn't like this part, but you're not allowed to say, do it again, or that this doesn't count.
It's also, quite frankly, Disney doesn't really care whether you like it or not. They care whether you buy the ticket to watch it.
Yeah.
And they know that you will. No matter what happens next, you will buy a ticket to see the next Star Wars film.
Yeah, and if you really genuinely feel that this wasn't good enough, then you know what? Don't go see the next one. Vote with your wallet. I think there's so much great stuff about fandoms, but I think in recent years, and I've sort of touched on this in the past previous episodes, there is an element of responsibility that we fans have to take that comes to like being respectful, be sort of amount of conscientiousness and just awareness when it comes to our conduct online and in terms of spoilers and things like that, and also stuff like this. Like if you say that, you can go online and say I didn't like the movie. You could say I did wish they'd done stuff like this, because that's what I did. That's what I did in the last episode. Yeah. But I would never start a petition to say that this doesn't count and it should be taken out of canon. I would wish that it wasn't
take it out of your head canon.
Yeah.
It's weird. But it really shows off the really, I think, toxic side of how internet fandom is on the rise. Because this petition, it's just yet another of these really bullshit petitions of like fans demanding the studios alter these films the way that suits these individual fans.
You only have to go back a month to see another one for Justice League. Although the best one I have seen recently is let's get a Zack Snyder cut with the Junkie XL music for The Last Jedi.
Oh God! Can you the slow mo? You can imagine. We think we set a piece on that. Well, I want to move on again.
Wait. I want to say one more thing about The Last Jedi.
Okay.
Because I think this is something that you brought up in your episode, and Fred, if you don't know, this is something I've heard a lot of fans already say about it, which is no one liked the casino scene.
Yeah.
Everyone had a lot of issues, and a lot of people had a lot of issues with Finn's whole storyline.
Yeah.
The extent that I've even said like it felt like they were just giving him something to do, and it came to nothing. But then I talked to a friend of mine, and he actually asked me, "Would you feel the same way about Finn's whole storyline in the film if he had succeeded? Would it have felt pointless? Would it have felt stupid? Would it have felt bad?"
Well, yes, I would, because it would have moved the plot along. This doesn't really move the plot along. It's busy work.
But it's also, the point of the film is failure. Like that's one of the themes of the film is failure. And so I think that actually,
but does his failure impact the plot in a much larger scope? Because when the whole point of his failure was he tried to disable the tracker thing to give the rebel fleet a chance to get away. He failed, so the rebel fleet is still in danger, which it always was for the rest of the movie.
No. But their plan would have. It's also the fact that their plan would have worked if Finn hadn't failed.
Well, yeah, but then again,
If Finn had done nothing, the plan would have worked. Right?
Oh, well,
in theory, because they would never have found out about the smaller transport ships. Anyway, the point is, I thought it was an interesting point to make that maybe. It's Anyway, I wanted to bring it up because it did change the way that I saw it, and I just wanted to put it out there for more people.
Yeah. I think it's a point that needs to be talked about. But speaking of failure, I want to move on again. Talk about something I saw fairly recently. I don't know if you guys saw it. A film that embodies the idea and the theme of failure, The Disaster Artist.
I've not seen it yet.
Neither of you seen it?
No, but I kind of want
to.
Okay, right. So I'm sure both of you have seen or heard of The Room, one of the best bad movies ever made. This movie about the making of that movie is fucking excellent. It's... I cannot go into detail just because I don't want to give anything away about why it's great. It's just that you really like these characters. It's so funny and so dramatic and everything just works so well. And it's... I cannot recommend it enough, honestly, The Disaster Artist. I can't recommend The Room enough, actually, because you know something? Before the movie came out, I had never seen The Room, and so I watched The Room in preparation for watching The Disaster Artist.
It's all on YouTube now, right?
I don't know if it is.
I heard it's like literally just on YouTube.
I found it elsewhere, but yeah, and you know what? It's a fucking hard movie to sit through.
Yeah, I've heard.
Kind of point, isn't it?
I had to keep pausing it, just shout out to the screen, just like, no! Why are you doing that? Why are you having sex in their flat? Who are you? Why are we having the same conversation? Why do you never bring up the fact that you have breast cancer again? Oh my god! And this movie, The Disaster Artist, also brings up these rather salient points. I think it's a really good exploration of people that make bad movies and and also the struggles of being a creator and being an artist, and it's it's really interesting and I really recommend it quite heavily. David, what else you got for us?
So I actually wanted to talk about some non-superhero films that I really enjoyed this year.
Okay.
So I just wanted to, there's three in particular that I thought really stood out for me. Two that I think Scott and I have already discussed, which is Baby Driver and The Mountain Between Us.
We got a thing that's called Red I Love.
The Mountain Between Us, I think, is a really did not get enough attention. Yeah. Scott and I already had a discussion about this a while back. It was amazing. It's a tour de force performances by Kate Winslet and Idris Elba. Just amazing film. Baby Driver. I love Edgar Wright. I recently rewatched Hot Fuzz, and I think it's now my number 2 film, right behind Blade Runner.
Oh yeah,
I love that film.
It's so good.
And Baby Driver, I think the best thing about Baby Driver is also the worst thing about Baby Driver, which is that you can very heavily feel that it's a very heavily directed film, which makes it both great and I think it's at some points it's a weakness. But
it's a passion project of his, clearly.
Yeah,
that's good. I like that.
Great.
But then again, you know me, I don't like auteurs. I've never been a big fan of that, even if it works out well. I did get that sense from it. I also, I feel like this is a criticism of his that's started to come up quite a lot recently. This may be bullshit. This may not be. His, not necessarily his depiction, but necessarily his handling of a lot of female characters. They often get sidelined or aren't given much. Lily James in this movie, she's a great actor. She's just sort of there to be the love interest. It's really bare bones. Considering all the other characters and even other female characters.
Other female character. Yeah, the John Hamm's wife in the film. I can't remember her name.
I can't remember, which says a lot about the movie.
Yeah. Anyway, the one thing I do want to say, Baby Driver, one of the best YouTube videos I watched this year was a breakdown of the first 5 minutes of the film, which is amazing. It like breaks down exactly how why it's such an effective opening. And I also think that that's my favorite scene of the film, that opening car chase. It's great. Anyway, the third film I wanted to bring up is one that I mentioned earlier, which is Ingrid Goes West.
Oh, yeah. I've seen trailer for it, but I haven't actually seen the movie.
So it's Aubrey Plaza and Elizabeth Olsen. So Aubrey Plaza plays this woman who it's basically just like she's basically just come out of a mental institute, and her mother has just died and left her a whole bunch of money. So she decides to move from wherever she is in Middle America to LA, and basically stalks this, eventually befriends this Instagram star played by Elizabeth Olsen. And it is amazing. It is one of the best films I've seen this year. Aubrey Plaza, I think, produced it as well. She's just great. There's a character in it who's obsessed with Batman, and it's just really funny.
A character that is obsessed with a superhero? What nonsense!
Like everything about his life is centered around it's so funny. Like, she buys him this like £800 or $800 like really rare Batman Forever sweatshirt, and he's like, this is great, but I already have it from eBay like 4 years ago. And it's a really funny film. It's this one of those sort of like quieter indie films that I think it's definitely a genre that I like a lot, where it's like you're not quite sure if it's it like flips from drama to comedy very quickly, and a lot of it's more like that the situation itself is funny as opposed to like they're not like making jokes. It's like there are moments when I was just laughing just out of sheer like awkwardness and desperation, because it's
this
like
sounds like awkward porn.
You're just cringing at some moments.
You see, I don't like that kind of humor.
It's really good though. I think you would actually like it. It's very like I think.
Okay, is it more Parks and Recs or is it more The Office?
I would put it. I see those both as the same thing, so I'm not really sure. I haven't watched Parks and Rec. I would say it's very like I would say it's like the two shows I would compare it to are like Easy or Friends with Benefits, or Friends from College on.
Oh yeah,
Friends from College was another great show.
That Kobe Smulders.
It was one of those where like I couldn't tell if I loved it or hated it until like almost the end. I'm also watching the second season of Easy now, which is also really great. And if you like Dave Franco, he's really good in it. He's a really fun character. He plays like this stoner who also brews beer and stuff. It's really fun. Anyway, Ingrid Goes West, Dave's stamp of approval.
Ooh, that's an official stamp right there. Fred, you got any official stamps of your own you'd like to put on something?
Ooh, well, something I can think of, another TV show I want to talk about is Thunderbirds Argo.
Oh, yes.
I'm so surprised you waited this long.
Yeah.
And am I really? Well, season 2 of Thunderbirds Argo has drawn to a close this year. The second half of season 2 has been on since January, and I think it finished a couple months ago. An odd season, I think.
See, I haven't kept up with Thunderbirds Argo, so.
How much have you seen?
Like first half of the first season.
Okay. What did you make?
I haven't really seen any of it.
We can forgive that.
Okay,
maybe.
sorry.
Yeah.
So what did you think of Thunderbirds Argo so far, Scott?
I mean, I liked it. It's just it never got its hooks into me quite like other things. Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting. I thought the new animation stuff. There was a couple of things I thought kind of weird. Like, for example, I think we mentioned this in the episode we did years and years ago. I think it was like the 9th episode we ever did with you. We were talking about Jerry Anderson and stuff like that. I think we talked about it then. And I really didn't like how they swapped a lot of the characters' hair colours around. Like, that's the kind of level we're on with me.
Oh, I think that's small potatoes in the grand scheme of things, given what this show
I am a nitpicker, you know this!
Well, I'd say the second half of season 1 is better than the first half. But season 2 has been all about this new villain for International Rescue to take on, called the Mechanic, who's kind of an anti-brains. And it's weird. Season 2, I think overall, it's been carrying the story of who the mechanic is, what his plan is, and
Turns out it's Jeff from the garage. Dum dum dum.
I thought you were going to say Jeff Tracy then.
No,
Because
it's a
he's
different
yet
Jeff. I don't know.
He's yet to appear.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
Yeah. So the season 2's been all about like what the mechanic's been up to. Like he has this grand plan to like obviously destroy the world, as all these villains have.
Of course.
But he's also been working in cahoots with the Hood, and that's been playing around. Like, has the Hood been controlling the mechanic this whole time? And it's odd because like the action has been, I think, actually pretty good overall. And weirdly, spinning off from that, I think the season's been better when it's not been trying to deal with an overarching story. Because I don't think it's
Thunderbirds was originally just like episodic, individual sort of ideas.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a shame, really, because season 2 I think got off to a strong start, but then towards the end, like the overall, like we don't know who the mechanic is by the end of the series, so it was a very jumbled finale to the season. So ultimately, it just made me realize, I think I still prefer Thunderbirds when it's not trying to be overly ambitious with an overarching story, and instead it's best when it's just being about rescuing people.
Yeah.
And I think that's something the series is perhaps.
I mean, just thinking about after all that, we still don't know who the mechanic is, and what's worse, he overcharged on the oil change.
That's pretty much. Yeah. So that's my brief snapshot thoughts on Thunderbirds Argo's second series. It's still good fun. Lots of things to like about it. Like the first half of season 2, like that really played to strengths with the whole mystery behind the mechanic, and several episodes featured him really pulling his punches with taking out international rescue who would get in the way of his grand plans. And I think there's one of the best episodes. If you want to watch like one episode from season 2, I would go with Up from the Depths Part 2. I don't want to spoil it too much, but something gets destroyed.
No.
Of international rescues. It is obliterated. And it pulls a lot of emotional punches.
Oh God, not the pool!
It's more than the pool.
Oh,
but yeah, I'd go watch that. It's still good fun. I'm interested to see what season 3's going to bring.
Let's hope we get something of that fairly soon. Now, there's one other thing. One thing I want to talk about. Hang on, just 1 second, guys. Sorry. Okay, so one thing I want to talk about, a fairly big thing, and it's caused a bit of a, not necessarily a rift, but a bit of a talking point between a lot of fans, and that is the Orville and Star Trek Discovery.
Ooh, I've not watched either deliberately.
No, but I know there's been some kind of like, how is one better than the other amongst fans kind of thing.
Yeah, I've also heard similarly to our petition before, there's been a petition to make Orville actually Star Trek canon.
Oh God, no! I don't know about that. See, they're two very different things. Because Star Trek Discovery is a return for Star Trek to television. We haven't got a Star Trek television thing since Enterprise, I think it was. I'm not mistaken. I'm not a massive Star Trek fan, but I have seen. I got into it a couple of years ago, and I'm progressively watching a lot of the TV shows and a lot of movies. I've seen all of Voyager, and I'm making my way through Deep Space Nine. I'm going backwards, just because I can. And so I do rather like it. I'm trying to keep on top of it. And so with Discovery, it's sort of it takes place slightly before the first original series. And I watched like the first couple of episodes of it. I haven't kept up with it, honestly, because for me, it feels, based on what I saw, kind of joyless and very soulless and just sort of very, not bland necessarily, but it's just sort of there, and it doesn't really feel very Star Trek-y, nor does it feel like a modern day version of Star Trek like a lot of the movies do. It feels joyless. Again, it's sort of the word I go for. These characters, except for one character that I actually do like, they don't smile, they don't like each other, they're they're very sarcastic and mean with each other and very angry, and it's just sort of, they're just sort of there. And there's a lot of interesting effects. Doug Jones, who I think is great, he's one of the greatest actors of all time, honestly, in terms of his physical movement, stuff like that. He's plays an alien on it, and the prosthetics and stuff like they use on him is great. He looks really realistic. And I do kind of like his character, but He doesn't get on with any of the other characters. And looking back on previous Star Trek shows, I mean, like, some of the characters didn't really get on, but they got on with other characters, and they all had these unique relationships, and they had fun. And even though they were, there was drama and conflict, there was connections made with each other, and there's none of that here. But then you look at the Orville, which is meant to be, like, inspired by Star Trek. It's done by Seth MacFarlane. It's done to, meant to be Star Trek-esque, but it's a sort of its own thing. And it feels more like Star Trek than anything else, even though it follows a lot of the, sort of the tropes and a lot of the ideals and a lot of the format of the original shows, like with The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and Voyager. It feels fresh, it feels new, and you know what? I am fucking blown away by some of the ideas they come up with on this show.
Yeah, I've actually heard a lot of good things. You're basically echoing a lot of the things that I've heard, and I think that's also why fans want the Orville to be canon.
I wanted to say its own thing, honestly, because honestly, a lot of Star Trek people have worked on it. I think Bannon Braga, he was like a producer or something that worked on it, and it's got Robert Duncan McNeil, who played a character on Voyager, Tom Paris, and also has directed and produced a lot of stuff. And
I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think it should be. I think you're right. I'm just saying that I think what you're saying is why the fans want it to be.
But also with the Orville, it also pokes fun at a lot of these tropes. Like a great example is, I think it's in the first episode. Not all of the jokes didn't work in the first episode.
You just
hello.
Your internet just looped.
Oh God, can you hear me now? What did I miss?
You just froze for a second. You were talking, but
you froze in time.
Oh no. Probably going to happen in the show as well. But the great example of a joke.
Happen again.
Oh.
Don't go to Disneyland.
No, I'm not.
Stay with us.
My internet seems
Come
fine.
Come back.
Okay, am I okay now? Am I okay? Am I still going? Is it stopping? I think
freezing and time travel.
Okay, it seems like you keep freezing as well. Just keep talking to me. Keep talking to me. Hello.
Okay.
Hello. We're still here. Are you still here?
I'm still here. I'm just gonna keep moving like this.
Okay. I think we're all good again.
Okay. I don't know what caused that. My internet seems fine. We've got a much stronger connection, believe it or not, out here than I do with my flat in Edinburgh.
Sorry, before we go back to what you were talking about, after this, I want to switch to looking ahead to 2018, because I don't have anything else on my list.
I don't think I do either.
I've got a couple of things, but we can do it after this. Yeah, this seems like a good stopping off point. So,
what are the things that you had left?
Several things. A couple of things I can prioritize. Like, I want to talk about Powerless. I want to talk about The Tick. I want to talk about Inhumans.
Forgot about The Tick.
I want to talk about Lego Batman briefly, Stranger Things, Smurfs The Lost Village, King Arthur, and the Lego Ninjago movie.
Okay, well, if you want to just pick a few more of those, because I think we're also running on to 2 hours.
Oh, getting close. So I'll just finish this, and then we'll just go through the rundown, and then we'll look ahead to 2018.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so one of the jokes I thought really worked in I think the pilot episode, not all the jokes work throughout the show, but actually this one really does work well. They're communicating with like this hostile alien guy, and he appears on the view screen on the bridge, but he's standing like slightly to the left of the view screen, so he's sort of out of not necessarily out of frame, but necessarily out of profile, shall we say. And they sort of stop the conversation and just say, hey, can you just like budge like towards the middle, because it seems like it feels a bit weird talking with you like just in the left half of the screen. And it's like, yeah, because in all the old Star Trek shows, all the characters they talk to were always in the center of the screen,
perfectly centered. Yeah,
always. And so whenever they poke fun at these sort of tropes, it's always done in a loving way and a joking way, but also it's also kind of interesting. They come up with so many cool ideas, and I kept on when I kept on watching a lot of these episodes, I just had to pause the episode and just shout at the screen like, this is interesting! Holy fuck, this is interesting! And with Star Trek Discovery, I haven't seen all of the episodes, it seems like they're just going like the idea like, we're at war, this is serious time now, oh, Klingons remain Klingons, and it's all very dour and not very inspirational and just kind of, and all the actors they got on the Orville, they're fucking great at what they do, and even Seth MacFarlane, who some people, when we made that movie A Million Ways to Die in the West, thought he wasn't great in live action. He's great here. He can do the funny stuff, but he can also do the really dramatic stuff. And it also, the ideas that come up, not only interesting sci-fi ideas, but they also reflect very interestingly on stuff that's happening right now. And I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but honestly, if I had to choose between you watching Star Trek Discovery and the Orville, Star Trek the Orville, I guess, I'd pick the Orville.
Fair enough.
Not really much more I can say about that. Now, I think we're going to go start wrapping up the episode. There's a couple more things I want to touch on before we finish. Powerless. Boy, did that crash and burn.
Which one was that? I don't even remember.
That was the DC show. It was the DC show.
Oh God! Yeah, that was awful.
So interesting idea, doing a show about superhero insurance people.
I think David's just exploded all over himself.
I misjudged how much water was in my.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
I spilled water all over myself.
The show is so bad it made Dave Molofsky spill his drink.
Yeah. I'll leave it.
And it's a shame because it had so many good people in it. It had Danny Pudi and Alan Tudyk, and I think at one point we had Adam West, yeah. And it's a shame. Honestly, I never bothered to watch it, so I can't.
I watched a couple episodes of it. It was terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, so you talk about how DC was good this year for television.
Yeah, but then you have, what I forgot to bring up earlier is Inhumans.
Yeah.
Talk about Marvel failing this year.
The first big failure of Marvel, hopefully the only one. Honestly, I was going to go and see it, but then I caught a glimpse of the reviews. 0%, guys. 0% when I first saw it.
I think I saw that too.
I think our review, I think Celia did it, and she basically said that she ended up getting to see it for free because her screening had originally been canceled, so they just gave her a free ticket. And she was like, even seeing it for free, I wanted a refund.
Yeah, my God. So I never just got around to seeing it because honestly, my poor heart just couldn't take the heartbreak. It was a nice idea. Obviously, it didn't work. Not really much more I could say about that. Fred, you got anything?
No, I never saw it. But wasn't it meant to be a movie, like one of the MCU movies?
Originally, I'm just
they really, because it was one of those things that they planned. But here's the thing: no plan survives first contact with the enemy, or in this case, so they had to sort of slightly retool the planning of their various movies just because, based on what people liked, on how you make plans, but then you realize, oh, actually, this isn't going to work later on. So they retooled it to make it an
IMAX. Well, they released the first 2 episodes in IMAX, and then they released I don't know. It was just a stupid thing to try,
and it's gone now because they made a mistake which they made before on Marvel, which is just you can't just cast people from Game of Thrones and expect it to all turn out well.
Yeah. Anyway,
so what else do I want to talk about?
I think Lego Batman is worth talking about because that came out before we started the show. I really enjoyed it. I have to say. Fun. Yeah, I went to see it with my friend at a day screening, and it was we were the only ones there without kids. But it was so much fun to just see a Batman movie that was fun again and for kids. And I was thinking about it. Lego Batman marks 20 years since there's been a Batman movie that you would genuinely take your kids to. I don't think I would take my kids to any of the Dark Knight trilogy, to BVS. I definitely not BVS.
The Tim Burton ones?
Maybe Justice League. No. I think So I definitely went to see Batman and Robin in cinema. And
you poor thing. You poor thing.
But I was a 10-year-old kid and I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think that, and by that time, I had seen the other 3 several times. I think those are fine for kids, especially in terms of what else there is out there today. But considering that there hasn't Batman is so popular with kids, and there hasn't been a kids movie for Batman in 20 years? That's just messed up.
Yeah, I think it's good that they branched out, and I really fucking love the Lego movie. That came out of fucking nowhere for me.
Yeah.
I walked into the thinking, oh, this is going to be some marketing cash grab. It's not going to be very good. It's going to be fart jokes and all that stupid stuff. I basically thought it was going to be what the Emoji movie turned into, and then I walked out of it like, what the fuck was that? What right does that movie have to be any good? And I had the same... I honestly thought maybe this would be good because I like the Lego movie, but then I thought I don't like Batman, so I really had mixed feelings going into this, and I walked out thinking, well, that was fucking excellent. I really enjoyed that. They even made me like Alfred in the bat suit and stuff, and it's just... It shows that the people making these Lego movies know what they're doing, or at least it did until the Lego Ninjago movie came out. Now, apparently there's this whole franchise surrounding this Ninjago thing. There's a line of Lego, and there's a TV series, which I'd never seen. But apparently you didn't need to see the TV series in order to understand the movie. So I went to saw the movie, and it was really naff.
Yeah, I heard it was very much for kids, where I feel like the Lego Batman movie, you could appreciate it still as an adult.
I mean, the moments in the Lego Ninjago movie I thought was kind of funny. I like the villain in it, Garmadon. I thought he was kind of funny a lot of places, but at other places it was just nothing. Not really bad, just a bit of nothing. And if kids like it, fine. There are lots of worse things you could take your kid to see, but honestly, it made me kind of wish that I'd just gone and see the My Little Pony movie instead. And I don't even care for My Little Pony, so that's something. But one thing I do care for is Spoon the Tick.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That didn't. I didn't even put that on my list. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And
it's not finished yet, though. It's not finished yet because they only went for like half the season. Where I think, are we still waiting for the other half of the first season?
Yeah, I think it comes out I think it comes out like next month.
I've sort of dipped in and out of Tick-related stuff in the past before. Like I've seen like a couple of issues of the comic, and I've seen a couple of bits from.
I love the Patrick Warburton show. I loved it.
That's the one thing I haven't seen. And so, how does this compare to the Patrick Warburton show?
It's definitely a little bit darker and a little bit more modern. I think it's very good in and of itself. The thing that I would compare it to, I watched the first episode of the Dirk Gently, the one with Elijah Wood.
Oh God, yeah.
Which I've heard is actually decent. It's what's his name? Max Landis wrote it actually.
See, I love Max Landis. I watched like the first couple of episodes, and bear in mind, I am a huge Douglas Adams fan.
Yeah.
I really did not care for it.
Yeah, I don't think
it was fine with Elijah Wood. When it focused on Elijah Wood, I thought it was good. But when it focused on Dirk Gently, I was just like, they tried to make him Doctor Who.
But I kind of felt like that was like that relationship of what it like the way it should have played out was more what you got from Arthur and the Tick, sort of like the straight man and the crazy wild like we're gonna do whatever we want right now kind of guy.
I swear to God, Peter, however you say his last name, Serafinowicz, it's that's not even close. But he is such a good actor. I've enjoyed him a lot of stuff, and he is so good in this. And the effects are really good. And even Jackie Earle Haley, whom I've not really liked in a lot of stuff, he's really good at that.
I really like him.
He's so good at that. I thought that voice is going to get kind of annoying. But you know what? It didn't. Eventually, he was so good.
Even like silly powers. Like I liked Lint.
Oh, yeah. yeah. It's just like that kind of would happen if we were thinking with her sort of powers. But it also it doesn't skimp on the character development or the action or anything like that. It has a little heart to it, but also feels like a faithful sort of thing of the Tick's original source material. But also, the biggest criticism I have, in fact, it's not even criticism, the most jarring thing was the fact that they changed the costume to make it a bit more practical. And they even mentioned that.
They even mentioned that, but like who cares? It's because they come out. The way Amazon works is they come out with these pilots and then they see which pilots are popular and then a year later they actually release them.
Yeah.
So I actually watched the pilot almost a year ago.
Yeah, I wanted to wait until the rest of the series proper came out, if it ever did. And obviously, when I first saw the costume, the first one, I thought, that's going to be very difficult for him to be moving around in. And then the new one came out, and it looked a lot better. It was a bit brighter, it was a bit more practical, but also it looked a bit more like the Tick. And it was just... Yeah, well done. Good, solid, fun, humorous heartwarming, action-y show. What else do I want to talk about? Stranger Things we mentioned. Stranger Things 2 came out.
Brad, did you watch it?
No. I don't know Stranger Things. I've not jumped on that bandwagon.
You got to get onto it.
I came into it pretty late, but I really enjoyed the first one, and I really enjoyed this one. Some people criticized that, again, it was sort of like a thing similar to Finn in The Last Jedi, just like Eleven going off doing her own thing. It doesn't really have a lot of point to it. Yeah, I don't think that was the case necessarily.
Yeah, I felt kind of mixed about that episode in particular. I think that in and of itself, it was a good episode, but the way that it fit into the rest of the story was just kind of... Yeah. I don't know.
But it does everything that a sequel season should do. It expanded the story, it continued the story, it introduced new characters that were kind of interesting, including that fucking psycho mullet guy. Holy shit.
From Power Rangers.
Is he from Power Rangers?
He's the Red Power Ranger.
Really? I did not know that. Because the mullet really doesn't...
Yeah.
But he was fucking... He scared me. He scared me more than like the Demogorgon or whatever. Or the Mind Flayer or whatever. But that's a whole thing. We're going to quickly run down a couple other things. Kong Skull Island. Does anyone care about Kong Skull Island?
Really don't.
Something else I didn't see.
I don't care about it either. I was really looking forward to it because I thought, this is kind of cool because it's got oh god, what's his name? Loki.
Tom Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston. Yeah, I need to call him Liam Hiddleston. It's not that. I was thinking of Liam Hemsworth. Tom Hiddleston. I thought it was cool because he's in an action role. It's got Alison Brie. I really like her. It's got Samuel L. motherfucking Jackson. I love him. And they're fighting Kong. This should be cool. And it just sort of wasn't. It was just fine. And honestly, the most interesting thing about the movie was just seeing like John C. Reilly as a World War II era pilot with a samurai sword. But then it's kind of like he was supposed to have like had a partner, like there's this Japanese fighter that they both crash landed on this island at the same time, and he's dead. And it's like, well, couldn't we have seen him as well? Couldn't we have seen these two friends? You know, both as older men, or maybe one of them dies or something during the movie, but they sort of swept that aside. It's like, oh, okay, fine. So it's really holding on nothing. Smurfs: The Lost Village. I mentioned this because...
Really?
Yeah, I want to talk about this because I'm going to mention it because it's we all love the Smurfs deep down, and we used to like the Smurfs before fucking Neil Patrick Harris turned up. As much as I like Neil Patrick Harris,
and you're smurfing some Smurf if you think I like the Smurfs.
Yeah, but because it's based on a comic, I thought I wanted to bring up because when I heard they were doing an animated thing and it was sticking in the Smurf land with all these fantasy elements, I was really looking forward to it. And I saw the trailer and I thought, it's going to still be a bit funny, but it might still be good. And I went and saw it, and it was like, well, that was something. It's much better than the live-action movies, but it's not really something I really want to talk about at length.
Fair enough. You're the one who brought it up.
Yeah, I want to bring it up.
Anything else?
Because it was just kind of a disappointment. I wanted to get your reactions.
No, I have no thoughts whatsoever.
I don't think I do either. Enjoyed the cartoon when I was nipper, but I haven't evolved my love for the Smurfs beyond that, I think.
Fair enough. So moving on now, King Arthur: Legend of the Sword.
Missed that as well.
The only thing I missed that, but the only thing I can recall from that film was Mark Kermode's review, where he kept I can't remember what it was, but it's a really funny review, like King Arthur and his bro swords or something like that. Lads about town or something like that.
Yeah, because I thought
the round table.
Guy Ritchie to eventually... I honestly thought that Guy Ritchie doing an Arthurian fantasy movie would be awesome, but instead it's really generic, it's really, not necessarily amateurish, but really poorly handled a lot of places in terms of, like, the story and the structure and the characters. Like, there's this character, she's a mage, she's, like, a really important character, she's just called the Mage, we don't know anything about her, and she's just sort of there.
She's supposed to be Morgana, or like...
No, I don't know. I don't think so. They don't call her Morgana. She's just there, and it showed a really poor understanding of how to do a fantasy movie, but also a really poor understanding of Arthurian legends. Like, for example, Mordred is the son of King Arthur, who in the original legend is supposed to be the one that kills him.
Yeah, and they're like the same age or something.
No. In this one, he attacks Camelot when King Arthur is not a king, he's just a little kid, and his son and his dad Uther Pendragon is king. So that in of itself. I mean, that is like Damian Wayne killing Thomas and Martha Wayne in Crime Alley, basically.
Yeah, that's fucked.
It's really.
That's a shame because I really enjoyed The Man from U.N.C.L.E. from 2015.
Yeah,
that was a decent flick.
Mixed feelings on it, but I thought it was kind of alright.
I thought it was fun in and of itself.
Yeah, for what it was.
Yeah, it made me wish that they would put the James Bond movies back in that era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For what it was fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So none of us have seen Transformers the last night. We're not gonna fucking talk about that. One last thing, which was, I think, one of the saddest and funniest failures of 2017, The Mummy. Oh, Universal, God. You tried. You really tried to create your own dark universe. And you know what? Considering the fact that the Universal monsters were the original shared universe concept, this I really wanted to like, because I really like those. I like Dracula, I like the Frankenstein, I like the Mummy, and I thought that would be really cool. And it was just kind of shit. And a Tom Cruise vanity project, really. Yeah.
So if you really want a good review of this, watch Will's review of the Mummy, and then watch his review of Thor Ragnarok, because he basically makes a really good point. I spoke to him about this, where the Mummy and Thor Ragnarok actually have the same plot. Where like even to the degree of like the hero goes off and fights, the Jekyll and Hyde, the Hulk kind of thing.
Oh god.
The parallels between like the villain is just sort of out of the second act.
Yeah.
Like it's just she's not there, and then it's like if you just cut the second act out of the film, both of them it wouldn't really change anything. You could just go straight from the first act to the third act. For a lot of it. It's really funny review, and it's also it makes both films look a lot worse.
Oh god.
I haven't seen either of those films, but I have seen both of Will's reviews, and I agree. I think his review, especially of Thor, it's a very well mapped out and funny review.
Yeah, his reviews on Indie Tricks on YouTube are great. Highly recommend them.
Yeah, we had on the show. We like his stuff, even if it does sort of ruin things that I like. But then I ruin things that other people like on a daily basis. So maybe I had that coming. So that was 2017 in a not necessarily in a nutshell, but that's sort of the highlights, the highs, the lows, the creamy middle grounds. So I think it's time now, before we top off a year of PodCapers, or year of 2017, to look to the future, to 2018. What do we think is going to happen in 2018?
Well, I've got the list of all the superhero movies that are coming out. Should I read them out? I think
go for it.
I don't think these are in order. These are just by studio. So we got Black Panther, Avengers: Infinity War, and Ant-Man and the Wasp from Marvel.
Yeah.
We got New Mutants, Deadpool 2, and X-Men: Dark Phoenix from Fox. Venom from Sony. Which
no.
I frankly am still like, I have seen set photos and I still don't actually believe that it's going to happen. Like I will be in the cinema and I will be like ticket in hand. I'll be like, they're just gonna show Spider-Man 3, guys. Don't worry about it.
Sony is just in the corner like, we're trying. Yeah, but you're not succeeding. You're not succeeding. I don't care if you're doing an Into the Spider-Verse movie.
That actually looks pretty good, but then so DC is doing Aquaman. Oh, I forgot about the Into the Spider-Verse movie, so that's also Sony. DC is doing Aquaman, and Pixar.
Oh yeah.
Is doing Incredibles
2. Yeah, looking forward to that.
Oh,
that's that. I've been waiting. It will have been 13 years, and I'm still as excited.
13 years, and Jack is still a baby.
Yeah. I think they're picking up literally like 5 minutes after the first one ended.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. And I don't think they're going to do anything more with Big Hero 6 or anything like that. Although there's a series that's either come out or is coming out based around Big Hero 6.
There's a TV show.
Yeah, which I don't care about.
I'm really excited. I have to say, the ones I'm really excited about, so if I had to pick one each of the Fox and Marvel, I think actually Black Panther and New Mutants are the two that I'm really excited about.
If I have to pick two for me, I'd say I'm really looking forward to Deadpool 2.
Yes.
Ant-Man and the Wasp. I am looking forward to Black Panther, but I really want to see how that's turned out.
I think it's because Black Panther and New Mutants are the two where it's like I don't know at all what I'm gonna get. Like I feel like they're the most unknown properties. I am also really looking forward to Aquaman after Justice League. I am.
Considering it was one of the best parts of Justice League, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I'm keen for Black Panther for the same reasons, because I know nothing of Black Panther and I'm intrigued by what it's going to be. And Incredibles 2, I'm very keen to see what that's going to be all about.
Which of the New Mutants, Deadpool 2 and Dark Phoenix?
Oh, Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
I thought the first one was a good ride.
We're getting Cable! Yay!
Yeah, I mean, Deadpool 2, don't get me wrong, I'm definitely looking forward to it, but it's, it's what I just said. It's the least, it's a known property at this point.
Yeah.
Where New Mutants, I'm very excited to see what they do with it. Don't get me wrong, of all the movies on that list, The Incredibles 2 is number one, what I am looking forward to. And I think it also speaks a lot to Marvel that none of us said Infinity War.
Well, no, I think it's because that's all taken for granted that we all want to see it.
Obviously.
Yeah, because it's going to be so big, and still haven't seen the trailer, still not going to see the trailer.
Yeah.
Just because staying away from that, because, you know me, I don't like to watch the trailers of things I know I'm going to go see.
I'm really excited for Infinity War. I watched the trailer about 8 times. And it's just like, I think it's more just like, it's the same way I was excited for the first Avengers film. Like, this is all these characters coming together again in a way that we've never seen it before.
Yeah, so it's gonna 2018 is gonna be interesting, and I think that's what 2017 has been. In the wider world, things have not been great. 2017 looked at 2016 and said, "Hold my beer," but I think in terms of pop culture, it's been mixed. We've had a lot of low points, but we've also had a lot of high points. I think talking about the things we talked about. Both in comics and in movies and in TV shows. When things have been good, they've been really, really good. And when things have been bad, they've been hilariously bad.
Inhumans. Sorry. I have something in my throat.
And so I think...
Iron Fist. Oh, I'm sorry. It's still hard to get that out.
Oh, yeah. And we've had a lot of fun. But talking about PodCapers, we have had a lot of fun on the show. I've had a lot of fun talking with you two guys. I've had a lot of fun with Mark and many of the other people that we've talked with on this show. It's been a year of new experiences for me, and it's been a lot of fun, I will say. And I'm looking forward to the new heights that we will go to. Hopefully, I'll never have to go back to Disneyland, though, ever again.
Well, one can only hope.
Yes. And I think, at this point, that's where we are going to end the show. Thank you very much to Fred and David for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely, yeah. Always a pleasure.
Not a problem. And if you enjoyed the show, tell your friends, please shout it from the rooftops. And if you haven't already, go back and listen to some of our other brilliant episodes, like, I don't know, any one of the multiple episodes we mentioned on this show, like 40 plus episodes, you can find one. And you can listen to them all on iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, or at a place to hang your cape.com or podcapers.com. Now, because we've got the new one. I hadn't forgotten, don't worry. We have a Patreon. Check out the rewards, patreon.com/AP2HYC. And if you want to get in touch with us, suggest show topics, or maybe you want to comment on the show yourself, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AP2HYC. Thank you very much to Dan Harris for our logo, the lovely microphone, the red and blue 3D glasses, those are mine. And thank you, Capers, for listening and sticking with us through this year. And we all hope that you have a happy new year as well. That's all for us for this year. Cue the music! Ah, you did it, you bastard!
Scott, just quickly, it's a backslash, not a forward slash.
Is it? Oh, right, okay.
It's always backslash. Forward slash does not. You never use a forward slash in a URL.
Really?
Yeah, it's always backslash.
Is this a backslash?
Can't see it. Yeah.
Was this a
backslash?
Yeah, but that's the other
so
way.
If you look at it's HTTP : //.
Okay. So I just want to mention that.
Just say slash.
Okie doke. Anything else we need to talk about?
No, I think we covered everything.
Yeah,
that was a really fun episode, guys.
Yeah, it was good fun.
And so I'll sort out the recording for the new Doctor Who one with Rob. And...
Yeah, Scott, do you owe me some Patreon content?
Yeah, sorry, I'll send that to you. Sorry, because I'm coming down here all over the place.
No, it's just that we've got a couple new Patreon subscribers, so I just wanted to make sure that we were putting something out.
Well, I'll send that to you, I'll email it to you, and I'm going to start editing this because with Christmas and everything, I'm going to not have a lot of time, so I'm going to try and get most of it done today and tomorrow.
Fortunately, I don't think there's much for you to edit on this one.
Well, there's not, but...
Yeah. No, I'm just
I
saying,
still got to listen through the whole thing anyway, so...
Yeah, no. I mean, like, last time we recorded, I remember we had, like, half an hour of pipes going.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, no pipes in this, just, like, there's the bird outside just tapping on a tree.
Yeah, or you got a...
Well, we had pipes and a squirrel when I was last time.
Oh, yeah, a squirrel! Squirrel! Where? I'm gonna head off then, guys. I will see you in the new year.
Yeah, good. Have a good Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas to you. Oh, actually, just want to talk about the that 'twas the Dark Night Before Christmas sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
So it's on
Just
Reddit.
Want to send me the link?
I'll get the link for you right now. Hold on.
Just make sure that you credit the person.
I was going to, yeah, but I said
yeah.
Because it gives me a chance to do my Joker voice, which you know I like to do.
Yes.
I'll copy it right now. Hold on. Copy. Where is it? Right. Okay. There we go. That's it. It's on Reddit. But I thought because there's a bit in it where Jim Gordon speaks, so I thought you could be Jim Gordon.
Okay, what do I have to say? Hang on.
Well, hold on. Well, you can. You're getting the link up.
Okay, wait. I'm finding it. It'll be a long night around there, said the Crusader who's caved. I need a list of all the inmates who've escaped.
It's a mighty long list. We don't quite know.
Yeah, so that's what
you've got to say. You've got to say, yes. So you've got to do it in your best Jim Gordon impression.
All right, give me 1 minute. I just want to get some more water.
Okay, sorry. Unless Fred, you want to do it.
What is this, sorry?
It's this sort of like
spilled on my water earlier.
Oh yeah. You know, 'twas the night before Christmas. Well, this is 'twas the dark night before Christmas, and I thought I could do it, schedule it for Christmas, seeing as we're doing this one. It's going to be after Christmas. 'Twas the night before. Okay. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through Gotham City, not a creature was stirring, not even Catwoman's kitty. The criminals hid in their hideouts in fear, hoping that Batman wouldn't come anywhere near.
Find a Gordon.
Very good.
So I thought that'd be fun to do.
Yeah.
Gosh, sorry. I want to get that done and sort of because I'm freezing in here.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a mighty long list, and then just reading all the names.
No. It's a mighty long list. We don't know quite who to blame. Is the only thing you have to say.
Oh, I thought that then he says and recited their names. There's Riddler and Bane, Joker and Harley Quinn, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze and Penguin.
No, that's just part of the actual poem. I'll be saying that, so...
No, but I think it works better if I say it.
Okay, fine.
Right?
Okay, fine. So, right, fine. It's a mighty list. We don't know quite who to blame, and then you could say, and there's Riddler. Okay?
Okay. In what voice? What am I doing?
In a Jim Gordon voice. Jim
Gordon. I don't know what's a good Jim Gordon voice.
I don't know. I was hoping you know.
Do a Gary Oldman.
Oh yeah, do.
Can't do. I'm trying to remember the speech at the end to get the voice. Hang on. I don't know. All right, let me just do a deeper voice.
Okay.
It's a mighty long list. We don't know who's. It's a mighty long list. We don't. It's a mighty long list. We don't know quite who to blame.
Try that again.
Yeah. It's a mighty long list. We don't know quite who to blame.
He pulled out a notepad and recited their names.
There's Riddler and Bane, Joker and Harley Quinn, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze, and Penguin.
And that's it. Awesome. Cool. So I'll probably record that now, actually, and then just get that sorted, and then I'll have once I'm done with you guys, and so that'll go out on Christmas.
Okay.
And
don't give it an episode number.
No, it's going to be like a standalone thing.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, you know.
Yeah.
It saves me editing on YouTube if you don't give it an episode number, basically.
No worries. Okay. Well, lovely speaking with you guys.
And make sure you give the link credit.
Yeah, I will do. Don't worry.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, bye. Bye.